So it's 6:30 p.m. evening in India and 8 o'clock morning in as per in US as per Eastern time, and Central European time is 2 p.m. afternoon. So a very good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you all. We are all joining here from different time zone. Our attendees are divided on 3 platforms. Speakers are on Zoom and others on Easy Expo and YouTube. Right now, we see about 200 people on all 3. A very warm welcome to all the speakers and the attendees, and all our distinguished dean and principals of the affiliated universities and colleges. At the outset, I will like to make the final reminder to you all. Please make yourself mute. There should not be any other disturbance or any voice when the speakers are speaking. So this is my humble request to you. Please mute yourself, else we will have to remove you. Thank you. Fintech and Blockchain Association is part of the EST group of companies based at Cambridge Innovation Center, MIT, Boston. The basic aim of FAB, sorry, I'm back. So Fintech and Blockchain Association is part of the EST group of companies, and we are based at Cambridge Innovation Center, MIT, Cambridge, Boston. The basic aim of FAB is digital knowledge empowerment via P2P model. Through centers of excellence, students intermingle and pass on knowledge to their peer group. Because without knowledge percolation, no digitization can succeed. Hence, this is our humble pro bono mission. We are very thankful to Easy Expo for their JV with us and creating the whole setup for this wonderful event within a record time of 5 days. I do hope there is no dislocation or problem to our registered attendees. Today, the topic is a very hot one, Metaverse and Web3, and everyone has its own interpretation. And of course, it is welcome. This is the decentralized arena. We are trying to punch as much as possible in the shortest possible time that we have today. Every speaker has 15 minutes. Attendees can put their questions on the chat, and we shall request our speakers to answer them. We shall restrict the questions to just 2 or 3 in number, as we have a long list of speakers and we don't want to impinge on their speaking time. We have to change the sequence of the question answer session because of the engagements of our speakers, and they have to go, so they could not have waited for another 2-3 hours for the question answer session. So I'm sorry for that, but still your questions will be answered. Industry experts recognize and feel the gaming environment as the starting point of the metaverse. The Metaverse and Web 3.0 are 2 different structures and concepts that amplify each other. Metaverse is all about an immersive state, a new condition from static to dynamic interactive experiences, wherein our physical being is represented in a digital dimension, which is, I believe, much more perfect than our physical form. In this context, I will like to make you recall the movie Avatar, wherein the physically handicapped hero could be a fierce fighter and a loyal team member of the independent community, something like what we call DAO right now, Decentralized Autonomous Organization. The consciousness-driven exchange of emotions when they fuse their tails can be understood as say P2P transaction. So metaverse is a more, I should say, substantial overlap between our physical and digital lives with extended reality, XR. Metaverse provides experience in 3D, virtual, physical, immersive, AR, VR, MR. All these are the facets of metaverse. Web3 is a set of decentralized concepts and technologies that provide the infrastructure for the future paradigm. A Web3 decentralized model seeks to manifest a digital experience that is more resilient, more inclusive, and prioritizes peer-to-peer connection. So we are talking of three features: resiliency, inclusiveness, and P2P connection. In Web3, value creation, storage, and exchange are all decentralized across communities and technology infrastructure. The concepts and technologies covered by Web3 are blockchain, decentralized web, dApps, DeFi, DAOs, cryptocurrencies, creator economies, and data direct networks, DDNs. Both Metaverse and Web3 combine to provide solutions to NFTs, identity, and transform the banking parameter. The three most common forms of technology associated with this landscape are extended reality, XR, blockchain, and AI, artificial intelligence. That's why in Metaverse banking, there is a veritable mix of blockchain, NFTs, and crypto into Metaverse services. It becomes a decentralized wallet-based digital banking with secured identities and P2P transactions. It provides that immersive state of banking where the VR app for banking can create an exceptional user experience. The wallet features to create, store, and manage digital currency and assets, and then transact in a metaverse interface. We have a whole lot of activities and opportunities in industries, health, fashion, media, and others. Even the environmental application can experience the use of digital twins for environmental management, which can open up great opportunities and provide a deeper understanding of climatic events. However, there is privacy and security concern in Metaverse, as it is a relatively new space and has no defined best practices. Identities can be cloned, digital avatars can be taken over by malicious elements and actors, and location spoofing can be done to steal information or misrepresent someone. No regulation exists with respect to data sovereignty or privacy for Metaverse platforms such as GDPR. That is why the data in Metaverse is at the mercy of the Metaverse platform owner. Now, it can be public, private, hybrid. It can be like centralized. It can be, but the paradigm is when Metaverse and blockchain are merging, they are creating the full decentralized medium. So we don't have scope for a centralized medium in Metaverse platform. It has to be decentralized. But we have to see how in practice things are happening and what happens there. The digital twins represent the assets from the real world to the virtual one with much better representation. And that is the topic of our first speaker, Dr. Ingrid. The extremely complicated systems are systematically developed, tested, and deployed in the most immersive way. The basic objective of a digital twin is to amplify the 3D simulation and visualization to solve futuristic problems. In short, the digital twin is at the heart of informed decision making in a world that is increasingly virtualized and hyper-connected. So now let us welcome our first speaker, Dr. Ingrid Vasiliev-Feltes. On the screen, you can see her achievements. If I try to list her these laurels, I will consume the whole speaking time of Dr. Ingrid. So it is better to hear from herself about digital twins and metaverse and what are her, because she is master of all these subjects. So I need not waste time by speaking myself. So here is Dr. Ingrid before you.
Thank you so much for hosting this event. You brought together a lot of friends and colleagues around the world. So it's a privilege to open this event with a few thoughts on the evolving metaverse ecosystem, and the role of digital twins. I will first provide a brief update about the nascent and evolving metaverse ecosystem, and then share a few thoughts about the role of digital twins in the development of a global metaverse ecosystem. The metaverse is facilitating our transition towards and enables our transcending our current physical world and emerging into a new digital world. We hope that it will also help not only us, but also businesses reinvent the place that we currently have in the physical world. Like with other emerging technologies, though, and innovations that we've witnessed over centuries, the journey will be long and will face numerous challenges, as we all know. We will also be forced to adapt the way we live, the way we work, the way we educate ourselves, and the way we like to entertain ourselves. The metaverse continues to capture our imagination, our attention, and causing a lot of controversies. And numerous international organizations have attempted now to publish regulatory guidelines and frameworks that, at least in part, start to provide some guidance. But we are also noticing a significant amount of investments being dedicated towards this new ecosystem. The metaverse has also acted as a strong catalyst for the entrepreneurship ecosystem. So while some consider it still a concept, others a movement, others an escape from the real physical world, when we look at the KGR and the global market size for the metaverse, we can see clearly that it is a product and a service that is currently attracting massive dollars. As defined by XR today, it is a simulated digital environment that integrates VR, XR, AR, and social media concepts to create spaces for rich user interaction, while the World Economic Forum describes it as a future persistent and interconnected virtual environment, where social and economic elements mirror reality. These are just two that I selected for today, but as we all know, we can find numerous definitions that will continue to evolve as the metaverse evolves. At this stage, we also observe that we have multiple individual metaverses being created and built. However, it is expected that they will ultimately all coalesce and form a global metaverse ecosystem. NVIDIA has also put forth a new term, the Omniverse, which they describe as an easily extensible platform for 3D design collaboration that is also easily scalable, offers real-time interactions, and true to reality simulation. I would also like to point to a few global drivers that are influencing the design and the development of the metaverse. The scientific and technological advancements are changing the population demographics. Social and cultural reconfiguration is happening as we speak, and we are noticing the rise of novel economies. These scientific advances in all disciplines have been increasing exponentially, partially fueled by the advanced capabilities and increased adoption of the emerging technologies that we all feel so passionate about. Maybe the audience can mute themselves. Golandam, we can hear you. Thank you so much. For instance, I would like to highlight the impact that Gen Zs have specifically on the metaverse, as there are several reports published and massive surveys that highlight that Gen Zs currently represent 26% of the global population and are expected to reach more than a quarter of the global workforce by 2025. Their behaviors and their interaction with the metaverse are giving us a glimpse in understanding the global market projections of the metaverse. For instance, 91% of Gen Z state that technology is a decisive factor in their job selection. 64% of them use social media several times per day, and majority make purchases online or are influenced by online marketing. They also envision spending majority of their education in the metaverse or in metaverse-like hybrid environments. According to a recent survey by McKinsey, Gen Zs anticipate spending at least 4.7 hours in the metaverse within their day. And one published by Microsoft highlights that 54% of them expect to work in a metaverse environment throughout their initial decade of work. The social and cultural reconfiguration due to a highly diverse global remote workforce will also have an accelerated effect on the adoption of virtual workforce for hiring. So it's expected to also influence the talent retention, and all the human resource ecosystem might be disrupted. The latest published statistics highlight that 16% of companies worldwide are now fully remote. 74% of global workers believe that remote will be the new standard, and their remote work will involve metaverse-like systems. A virtual employment environment is also predicted to aid with corporate diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts, and might further augment transition to a metaverse-powered human resource structure. Gen Zs also consistently report that they would select a DEI and ESG conscious employer. Another strong driver of the metaverse is the creator economy, which has generated millions of dollars in additional revenue over the last few years. And experts estimate that currently 50 million people are active in this creator economy, and the numbers grow daily. They are predicted to be early adopters of the metaverse ecosystem and push it forward. I would also like to highlight briefly that there are more than 10 universities worldwide which are now offering metaverse education. These are certified degrees, not just online training. They range from AR, VR, XR technology skills, and including recently the business of the metaverse offered by University of Pennsylvania at the Wharton Business School. Another trend worth mentioning are an increased focus on cyber resilience instead of just cybersecurity and reactive approaches. Also, something very near and dear to my heart, I've seen initial inklings of applying digital ethics to the metaverse early, which is very reassuring, and we hope it persists. Also, we hope, and I've seen only a few articles mentioning this, that we're approaching the metaverse with a thought for the future to build a code of ethics, a code of behavior. Human rights should be upheld in the metaverse so that we don't experience what we've done with other emerging technologies in the past, so that we can build an inclusive, diverse, ethical, and sustainable metaverse. As we all know, there are several foundational converging technologies that shape the metaverse, and we're at the cusp of emerging into, or jumping into the fifth industrial revolution. These include a full AI portfolio of tools, methods, and algorithms, as well as decentralized ledger technologies such as blockchain, but also spatial computing, semantic web analysis, and of course, our transition towards the next generation of the World Wide Web. The global web, which is currently labeled to be the emerging Web 3.0, is also quite robust and expected to reach 33.53 billion by 2030 in global market value. And it is expected to also grow at a KGR of 44.9% in this forecasting period. Additional technology trends that we must be aware of that are strongly influencing the metaverse ecosystem are digital twins, which I'll highlight a little bit in the remaining minutes, human-computer interfaces, robotics, next-generation computing, high-speed networks, and the industrial Internet of Things. So what is the role of digital twins in the metaverse? Digital twins, just to make sure we address the same definitions, have been defined as virtual replicas of physical entities, which are created in software and that can be represented by devices, people, processes, or systems. Gartner describes their functionality as software design patterns that understand the asset state, respond to changes in the asset's current behavior or state, improve business operations, and must add additional value to the current replica that they're aiming to produce. As a Deloitte report highlighted, recently digital twins are designed and deployed to enable virtual collaborations, absorb and process massive big data, as well as assist us with managing the physical world in a more efficient and safe manner. So I just wanted to provide the definition first before I also just share a few elements about the healthcare impact as well as finance impact of digital twins, although they've been influential in numerous industries, such as automotive, aircraft, energy, urban planning, education, agriculture. But as you all know, I dedicate quite a lot of time to healthcare and finance, so I'm going to just highlight a little bit about those. The design and deployment of digital twins is complex and intimately connected to other digital technologies. Healthcare is a wonderful example where all these emerging technologies can coalesce and augment what we can achieve for better patient care and redefining, recalibrating the way we deliver care. From a healthcare delivery perspective, digital twins could enhance quality and safety of healthcare, improve clinical decision support systems, accelerate the transition from research to clinical development for new medications, new treatment pathways, new devices. It could also mean better safety profile for medications and devices. In medical education, they could contribute to a more interactive teaching methodology and safer training for physicians, nurses, and other allied professionals. For surgery, oncology, or precision medicine, having digital twins could be revolutionary and disruptive. Last but not least, perhaps we could have a hyper-connected global health ecosystem where we could share meaningful impact so that we can accelerate curing diseases that currently have been unfortunately plaguing our society. Last but not least, I will highlight a few of the benefits in fintech. By deploying digital twins in financial industries, we can optimize data centers more efficiently, can achieve higher data management fidelity, and save costs by having less overall downtime. Furthermore, by having digital twins technology in fintech organizations, they can engage in an ongoing quality improvement process. Additionally, another major advantage is digital safety and managing cyber risk more efficiently for the fintech industry. Of course, we'll have a lot of challenges when we deploy digital twins, so it has to be a delicate balance between how fast we deploy digital twins in healthcare and fintech or all the other industries. But again, by approaching it in a systematic fashion and having proactive ethics and cybersecurity programs, we can achieve quite a lot. For future direction, I would like to call out that digital twins can redefine the way we build smart cities, which is another broad topic that I hope we can address another time. I see we reached my 14 minutes, so I'm going to stop here. I know we have a lot of wonderful speakers today that I'm sure are going to provide details and further insights into many of the things maybe we touched briefly upon. Thank you for inviting me, and it's a privilege to share a few brief updates about the metaverse and digital twin.
Thank you, Dr. Ingrid, for such a wonderful disposition about metaverse and digital twins. And rather, you have covered the entire topic of metaverse and Web3, all the different facets. I can see people are still trying to get into the groove of this event. So there is no question, rather, from you. So I think you are free.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And
thank you very much for gracing the occasion.
Thank you.
So now we move to the second speaker, wherein the pertinent question is metaverse leading to a human renaissance? Human consciousness will merge with the digital consciousness in metaverse. Whatever human beings love, they will like their avatar do the same. And it gets exhibited through the complex avatars. We have the incidence of, say, virtual influencers, virtual YouTuber, with whom we call VTuber in short. The whole discussion about the metaverse is essentially telling us that we can live in a virtual space using an avatar and we don't need a body. Well, this sentiment is echoed by the futurist Jared Leonhardt. I don't know how many people will agree to it, but without our body, how can we be living in avatar? Yes, we can keep our body static and keep moving in metaverse through our avatars. That is possible, but body has to be there. Anyway, human centricity is the basic theme of our tech development. But metaverse via its avatar has created meta-human, realistic extended reality avatars. These are called meta-humans. So how this human centricity of Web3 aligned with meta-human That is what the world is working on. The two dimensions must meet. Let us hear from Kathy DeMarchos. How does she see this development? And Kathy's giant humanitarian achievements are on screen for you to see. Welcome, Kathy. Screen is yours now.
Thank you so much. Appreciate the invitation. And Dr. Ingrid, it was incredible to actually listen to you speaking about what I would call your place of genius. And the Metaverse and Web3 certainly isn't my place of genius, but humanity, education, bridging the gaps that we actually see currently across the globe, economic security, they're the things that are really important for me. So I guess the one thing that I actually want to talk about is really where we're actually sitting today is in a very different place there where I think we anticipated that we would be some 10 years ago. Even 12 months ago, you know, if we were talking about this discussion, people were still actually grappling with what had happened with the pandemic. So that consciousness of where we're actually trying to bring people to with what is possible is really actually putting people on a treadmill and then speeding it up. So the things that I actually want to talk about, and I will just share my screen, is actually almost bringing it back slightly. It's bringing it back to what people can actually, now can you actually see this? Or have I not shared my screen yet? Hang on 2 seconds.
Some disturbance from your microphone. So can you just mute and unmute yourself?
Me?
Yeah. There's some disturbance from your microphone.
Is it okay now?
Well, no, but
You can't, can you see my screen and can you hear me?
yes, we can see your screen.
Yes.
Okay. So for me, it's actually about starting back at the beginning. To enable people to move forward, what's important is that we actually meet them exactly where they are
Excuse
at
me,
the
ma'am.
moment.
Ma'am, your voice is not very clear.
My
There is
nose,
some disturbance.
can you hear
There is
me
some
better now?
disturbance. No, ma'am. There is some disturbance.
Yeah, Kathy, can you just shift a little bit, maybe backward and then speak?
Now?
Uh,
Is it clear now?
no, there is some mechanical voice also coming with it, as if we are in Metaverse. You are.
Ma'am, rather you can use your smartphone if you this.
You want, okay. I can log back in. Let
Yeah,
me do
just
that.
log back in because
All right.
so we'll just wait for Kathy to log back in.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
All right. I won't be able to share my screen.
Yeah.
My apologies, everyone.
No problem. These are technologies. So it keeps on happening like this.
Okay. So where I was actually getting to is the importance here in respect to
ensuring that we actually have everybody join us on this journey is to meet people exactly where they're at. Now, the words Metaverse, Web3 is actually quite confusing for quite a lot of people. Most people are actually thinking that it is simply, as Dr. Ingrid said, about gaming, about the younger generation. But the reality is that we all actually are going to be part of that journey with us. Is this echoing on your side?
Your other
You're on mute.
system is open, that's why it is echoing, but you are presenting your screen also, so it has to be like that. You can go ahead, at
Okay.
least it is better than that mechanical.
All right. So where we can actually come to is remembering that people don't like change. And despite the fact that change is actually the only constant thing, we have to ensure that we allow people to adapt at the pace that they are accustomed to. So for me, what's important is for us to ensure that we actually take people on that journey with us. So how do we do that? It's beginning the awareness progress, that knowledge base, and making things simple. Making things practical for people to actually understand how is it actually going to affect them? What is that actual one position that we can share with them where they can relate to what it is that's going to happen for them? Now, Dr. Ingrid actually mentioned healthcare, and as I actually was listening to her, there was one thing that came to mind. What if we actually created cubicles where people could actually walk in and have scanning occur, where they actually look at what is happening from all the way from their brain all the way through to get a health check? Can you imagine what that would do to humanity across the globe? This isn't something that is just for the Western world, but we could actually enable social impact on a bigger basis by having that sort of technology incorporated into everywhere, every continent, every impoverished community, to ensure that we enable humanity to be living in a sustainable, healthy, long-living society. If we actually start the process today to upskill and retrain people, and then when the technology is available, we'll be moving everybody forward at a rate where everybody is actually adapting without feeling like they are constantly on that rapid evolving change that they have now. Remember, I want to go back 2 steps. We've come out of a pandemic and people are still constantly saying that they're wanting to go back to what was normal. The metaverse is actually taking them almost to that other stratosphere. So we have to take micro steps to make sure that we not only are actually bringing our future generation forward, but everybody else on that journey with us. So that upskilling, that retraining is actually going to be imperative. The one question that I actually want to ask all of us to consider is, what else? What else is possible? How else do we want to contribute? And how are we actually going to make sure that nobody is left behind? And that piece is going to come through communication. The key here is to make sure that we actually meet people where they're at, and to remember that we actually are communicating through lived experiences, and not everybody knows what we know, nor can they actually interpret what we are actually wanting people to experience and to accept will actually be of greater benefit. That visualization that I shared earlier about that health system, that cubicle, also actually comes to light with what Dr. Ingrid was saying about that inclusiveness, that diversity that we were talking about. This is a real possibility where people can be sitting at that table from across the world, and with that twin that, again, Dr. Ingrid was talking about, through a hologram, through that virtual reality and making sure that we are actually taking everything into account in a holistic way, where we are thinking about social impactful changes. To ensure that we actually make the right choices, we have to be intentionally conscious. And I use those two words together because that is how we create greater impact. And I want to share a story that might actually give you the opportunity to see why those two words together are so important. Earlier this year, I was actually talking at an event, and it was an intergenerational engagement. There were young students that were just in their final years at school. There were people in business, and there were people who had retired. As I was about to take the stage, a young girl approached me who was going to introduce me. And she shared something very personal with me. And it was about the challenges that she was going to face as she was finishing school and what was expected of her. And as she reached out in front of me, I saw cuttings on her arm. The reason why I actually share this story is because in that moment, I realized that had I actually not been intentionally conscious about what I wanted to do as I took that stage, potentially that discussion that she had with me would really be of no consequence. But I valued her and I changed my entire presentation. It is so important that we actually understand the impact that we can make through the discussions that we have. In that moment, what had actually transpired was that young girl approaching me after I spoke to acknowledge and to be grateful for me taking on board what she had shared. The ripple effect was that the audience, even those who knew me, actually approached me to say, that was such an impactful discussion that you shared. They didn't know who it was about, but they were moved. The person that engaged me said to me, Kathy, we've had so many people actually approach us about what you shared. They were moved to tears. That ripple effect is what intentionally conscious actions are going to actually do. So with technology, guys, what I'm suggesting is that we don't look at this from the perspective of efficiencies or even from an efficacy point of view. It is also to make sure that we embed ethics into it. And again, Dr. Ingrid, it was almost like you were actually thinking what I was thinking with the things that you have raised. But we have the opportunity today to think about how we want to choose to go forward. So for me, what I want us to do collectively is to think about bridging all of those gaps through the innovations that are actually available to us. I'm sharing my experiences with you because this is different. The world as we know it today is going to be significantly different. So we have the opportunities to embrace differences on so many platforms, to celebrate failures, and to actually go beyond resiliency by looking at what Nassim Taleb actually calls anti-fragility. To stop and listen so that we better understand, not to respond, and to be comfortable in being uncomfortable so that we can actually have the unthinkable become possible, and to actually ensure that thinking limitlessly is actually the new way of living. So as we move forward, what I'm asking each of us to do is to almost dig up that soil, have a look at what's actually underneath. I call that the unearthing process, so that we can replant and give humanity the best opportunity to succeed. If we embrace the metaverse and what Web3 actually has to offer, we will actually be living a much more sustainable, conscious world. So as I close, I have one question for you. Ask yourself, what else? What else is possible? What else do you want to contribute to? And who else do you want to take on the journey with you? And I'm going to wrap up there.
Thank you, Kathy. Dr. Ingrid, will you like to say something to Kathy? Because she has frequently reference to your speech.
Well, as always, we're aligned in mind and soul, and I totally endorse all these beautiful thoughts about what our aspirations are to make it a better metaverse experience than we've seen over the last few years with emerging technologies and how they were deployed. So totally aligned, and thank you for all the references as well. I also liked that you mentioned Anti-Fragility. It's one of my favorite books, and I urge everyone to read that, how to deal with chaos and uncertainty, and in a high-risk environment where a lot of the things that were only 1% possible have actually happened now. I think it's a good book to read before we embark in this complex, highly volatile metaverse ecosystem journey. So thank you for your wonderful presentation, and I'm looking forward to the other ones. I'll have to drop off at one point, but I really appreciate the opportunity to come. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So we have really to struggle to humanize the technical chaos and try to create order amidst this chaos. However, when you have been talking about scanning your ailments, and for healthcare, that something scans you. So in ESG healthcare, we have something like that you enter the kiosk, and we have different scanning facilities through IoT, medical IoTs, I should call them. You can scan your body and you can do your tests, and everything can be worked out. So that's very good. And as I had given you the example of the movie Avatar, wherein there was conscious fusion of emotions and consciousness when they were merging the mesh of their tail. So that was a very, very symbolic thing that now when Elon Musk is talking about planting chip behind neck, behind your head and on your neck, and trying to create those electrical impulses for transmission of one's thoughts and those thought processes. So I don't think we are very far from those days when Metaverse and Web3 will have that voice of a decentralized voice, wherein just thinking and whoever, like we have this we call Bluetooth type of thing. So when two human beings are in close proximity, that Bluetooth type of event can happen, and they can exchange their vision and they can exchange their emotions and reactions. So very well said, Kathy. And now we move to the third speaker. Metaverse is much more than a social media platform, and it has the big potential to change our social, political, and economic order. At its core is blockchain technology that could pave the way towards a decentralized autonomous society, which will make us global citizens. Our digital identity will enable us to create our economies without the need for intermediaries. Blockchain acts as a secure, decentralized, and transparent data container. Alongside this new value chain, Web3 has created entirely new economic organization, DAOs. These decentralized autonomous organizations are a central function of interaction across the Web3 space. Let's understand why. Wasim Jarkas, with his much vast knowledge on the subject, and he's working on blockchain with his company iBlockchain, he comes with his views. Very welcome, Wasim. Stage is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Sindhu. It's a pleasure to be on this forum. Thank you so much Thank you, Kathy. A very touching speech. Actually, I had some goosebumps at one point in time. That's really, really touching. Dr. Ingrid, always insightful. Thank you so much for your speech. I think I'll go for a more of a free speech. I prepared the presentation, but after what I heard, I opted to go for more of a free speech, but I want to go through a couple of definitions first. My screen is visible?
It's okay.
Yes, sir,
Yeah.
it's visual.
Good.
Yes, sir.
So I want to define just quick definitions. So what is a metaverse? A metaverse is a universe of infinite connected virtual communities where people can interact, collaborate, enjoy themselves using VR, AR, smartphone apps, and other kind of technologies. The metaverse is a collective virtual shared space created through a confluence of virtual enhanced physical reality and physically persistent virtual spaces, including the sum of all virtual worlds like augmented reality and the internet. The metaverse is a medium in which the physical and digital worlds are allowed to coexist with significant implications on the core areas of our everyday life. Just a quick summary of what is the metaverse, and maybe a quick question that came to my mind actually just 1 hour ago, that where did we experience the first metaverse-like application or metaverse-like experience? And then someone would think maybe 1 year ago, maybe it was, I don't know, Fortnite, maybe it was, but actually it was really, really, really long time back. And maybe I'll bring the memory for something called, remember the Pokemon Go and the hassle of the Pokemon Go? It was, if I'm not mistaken, it was a little bit less than, somewhere like 8-10 years ago. And this is exactly where the initial ideas of the metaverse came in, with this augmented reality, where people on the street were chasing objects that did not exist, and people really went crazy all across the globe to a degree where governments has to interfere and start banning this application and this game from going across. This is how long back it started. The Pokemon Go, this is where the initial concepts of actually metaverse and the seeds of the concepts of augmented reality and bringing the virtual world into the actual world, physical world, and then how interactive human beings became with the Pokemon Go game. So this is how far that idea has started, actually, how far ago that idea has started. Then I want to move quickly to what is Web3. Again, a quick definition. Web3 are a series of projects that are decentralized applications and that are built upon the core principles of the blockchain technology. They are decentralized, they are trustless, and they are permissionless. The decentralized base of Web3 is also the foundation for what is known the blockchain technology that powers the cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and this is behind of the NFT exchanges that we've seen recently. Blockchain technology is one of the most crucial components in the Web3 space because it allows users to have control over their data in a decentralized manner. This is extremely important because this is the foundation of Web3, where the control of the data is back to the hands of the people and in a very decentralized manner. Web3 applications are actually pieces of software that utilize any component of the Web3 technology, which is basically a blockchain used for decentralization, artificial intelligence, neural networks, like you mentioned, Dr. Sindhu, just now, Elon Musk and the Neuralink that he's starting to implant in the brains, the big data, the virtual reality, the augmented reality, multi-dimensional interfaces, distributed computing. This is what Web3 is about. So in a nutshell, Web3 is not a thing. Web3 is an umbrella term for various technologies that are set to dramatically transform the internet over the next decade. So there is not a single definition of Web3. Web3 is an umbrella term rather than a thing that we think that's it, that's Web3. No, it's an umbrella term that many applications and many technologies can fall under. Now, after these two definitions, I just want to go into a very controversial question. Do we think that Metaverse or Web3 should be owned by just a few companies? This is what's going to answer the decentralization question. What we have seen recently on the internet, Web2, the recent elections, the scandals we have seen about the customer protection, customer data being exposed, and then the potential of what Metaverse can do and transform us as human beings, and then what Web3 can transform radically the way we interact, the way we live, the way we conduct business. The question is, shall we allow again these technologies to be just owned by a few companies? That is a question that probably yet to be answered. I think I know that what would be the obvious answers in our head, that will be the immediate answer, but that is something that we need to really think about. I'm gonna stop sharing, and I would prefer maybe to go a little bit more. So this is what Web3 is promising us. Web3 is promising us a centralized internet that is built on a permissionless open blockchain network. It uses a technology that is built on a decentralized blockchain, and that decentralized blockchain will allow us for a totally new landscape of novel businesses and even new social models that we will be undergoing. Unlike decentralized and controlled forms of over the internet, which are known today as Web2, Web3 is a distributed network. It's built on the blockchain, as we have said, and it hosts data, our data. It's being hosted in distributed networks rather than a central server. Data storage and data flows, they occur over networks that are running over many computers with no single entity that is controlling them. So what we will be achieving through decentralization is allowing users to own their data back. They will have full access to these storage, to the communication channels, and because it's designed using blockchain technology at the core, it's going to empower the user while it's give them access and full ownership of their data. Blockchain is using decentralization, and what we call the IPFS, interplanetary file system, is going again to give back access and control over data and access to data and storage of data back to the crowd, back to the people itself, instead of being monopolized as we have them today by the big tech companies. Without mentioning names, I think we all know who the big tech companies that is monopolizing our own data, our own profiles, our own behaviors. No, this is what Web3 is going to do. It's going to give back the control of this data back to us as a human being. The decentralized nature of the blockchain is going to establish a transparent, and it's going to establish a safe environment that is going to be enabled by the growth of these technologies. And we will be able to free ourselves from surveillance, from exploitative data, such as the targeting advertising that I'm sure all of us are experiencing on a daily basis. The individuals will have the rightful control over their data, as we have said, and the decentralization of the applications, the D-app, is going to allow us to build. It's going to allow us to build those applications over the blockchain, and again in a decentralized manner, and it's mostly going to store our data in decentralized locations. Now, while there are real risks with this emerging technology, it is being used. That's we are going to use. Applications like Web3 internet, it is still emerging, and across numerous industries with the potential of transformational effects, a huge transformational effect. The initial iterations of the Web3 and the initial implementation of Web3 has actually forced us to adopt open standards that are publicly available, and it has to force us to adopt these open standards so that we don't get locked into the hands of developers again, and we repeat the mistakes of big techs and distributed storage, and we will have to apply what we call, and as you mentioned, Dr. Shindo, the decentralized autonomous organizations, to create a robust decentralization of networks and applications. So by creating and by following the DAOs, the open standards of the DAOs, the open standards of the Web3, the DAOs will allow us to have even an open standard and to distribute the power that are in the hand of developers over the DAO environment, and create a more democratic environment over which there is no single decentralization of development, of decision making, or changes that are taking place over the Web3 or over the metaverse itself, which is based on Web3 applications. Web3 applications are going to power and empower metaverse application. I will jump to another topic, which is basically what has been happening recently, what has happened recently, and what is the scare. So, like what happened recently in FTX, what happened recently in the NFTs world, and people losing their ability or their asset, the ownership of their assets. So there is a growing chorus of skeptics right now that are warning that Web3 is corrupted, is full of speculation, there are thefts that are taking place, there are privacy issues, and going back to promote the issue, the concept and the idea of centralization. And saying that this proliferation of middleman is already undermining the utopian ideas that are behind decentralization, metaverse, and Web3. That is actually true. That is a concern. And this concern is genuine, and it is being raised by users continuously. Because as in emerging technologies, it is in the phase of, it's a nascent technology, it's a phase of the evolution. And we might not yet be fully aware of the underlying risk of these decentralized technologies until they occur, and then we gain mature and they became more robust. So what we would be expecting over the very near future is some kind of a protection from these camps. So we will end up with an inevitable return sometimes to centralization. So we will have a balance of certain amount of Web3, NFT platforms, currency exchanges, wallets, metaverse environment that has certain element of centralization still there, just to maintain the integrity of those applications. And then meanwhile, with the evolution, that degree of centralization will start diminishing, and we will be moving to a fully decentralized as we wanted and as we wish to have it, and our utopian thinking in a fully decentralized platform, a fully democratized access to information, to applications, to capabilities, which is the ultimate aim of Web3 and the metaverse itself. And I am at 14 minutes, so I will wrap up here.
Thank you very much, Wasim. I think we are very clear about all the technicalities and nuances of Web3 and metaverse. And I'd like to say here that we were talking about DAOs and the democratic norms of DAOs. I prefer to call it democratic, decentralized autonomous organizations. So DDAO is a better way to, I should to call it. And moreover, centralization and what is going to be the nature of centralization of this decentralized world because of KYC, AML, we don't know. Even these, what do you call it, the decentralization mode for different digital currencies, they are also in different zones, and different countries are looking at those things in a different manner. And that's why very difficult to say how much decentralization we can affect in government working and political system. But let us see how things shape up and how technology gives it a thumbs up. And now we move to the next speaker. The health metaverse is one of the upcoming major disruptors in the coming years, given that virtual reality, augmented reality, and mixed reality are already being used for medical training and surgical operations. Metaverse has the potential to improve all aspects of healthcare, from virtual wellness to mental health to complicated surgical procedures. Metaverse are predicting a disruptive shift, providing better surgical precision, opening new channels of treatment, and lowering the cost, which is, say, a fundamental axiom of the new technology, that it has to be very, very inexpensive. At the same time, while improving patient outcomes. Web3 technologies like artificial intelligence, augmented reality, virtual reality, extended reality, and the Internet of Medical Things are already being used to do things like train frontline pandemic workers and relieve symptoms of post-traumatic stress, what we call PTS. His Excellency Professor Sir Manuel Freire Gerbel illustrates the changes in healthcare owing to Metaverse. Very warm welcome to you, Professor Manuel. Screen is yours.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sindhu and FinTech and Blockchain Association for the kind introduction and for organizing such wonderful event with a really diverse and complete meeting full of great professionals from different fields who are helping us today to understand the different possibilities of Metaverse and Web 3.0. Today, I want to develop some ideas from the point of view of healthcare and health education, and the possibilities that Metaverse and Web 3.0 will bring to the future of the field. That's why the title of my speech is The Challenge of Metaverse and Web 3.0 in Healthcare. First of all, challenges on healthcare are the basis of the future of the human race. In every step of medical advancements is needed the technology, which assists on the establishment of new systems in different fields of healthcare and wellness. Two new tools are making possible a new challenge of healthcare through the internet. One is Metaverse and the other is Web 3.0. The changes that have arisen in society after the post-pandemic era have led both individuals and governments to raise the possibility of new horizons in alternative realities such as the Metaverse. All this has given to the development of parallel lives that can develop in an ethereal world that will allow us to cover different possibilities that today are limiting in fields such as health education. In Metaverse, users can communicate with one and another and with computer-generated environment and objects. The term Metaverse from the fiction novel Snow Crash of Neil Stephenson from 1992 was meant to describe the fictional virtual reality setting with characters could communicate and collaborate with one another with computer-generated objects and environments. Many have suggested using the Metaverse to make online education more engaging and effective, providing a more realistic setting in which to test drugs, and dressing has also been proposed as means to improve medicine and pharmacology. A more effective method of transporting genes to cells has been proposed, and the Metaverse has been proposed as the solution. In an article titled, "Can the Metaverse Drive the Metamorphosis of Healthcare?" by the first contributor, David Walcott, was asserted different improvements on the medical and healthcare field. The first thing we must consider is ask to ourselves if we are in a new era of healthcare experiences thanks to the possibility that Metaverse offers. In the face of such interrogation, there are two main questions to ask to the experts: how to reimagine the healthcare experience and how the Metaverse can aid in that process. Despite many layers of the metaphorical onion that make up the Metaverse, it is often viewed as nothing more than an online environment that is not very more experiential, interactive, and defined by an immersive nature. Rather, it's exponentially more so. This is how Walcott describes it as it's like the second coming of internet, a renaissance where hyperconnectivity, AR, VR, and AI play central roles in the design and implementation. When it comes to medicine in general, the Metaverse frequently reimagines both the means by which medical students are educated and the doctor-patient relationship. Despite being criticized as being overly effective as care has advanced over the past decade, the author demonstrates how the technological pillars have completely revolutionized the doctor-patient experience. Simple examples include treatments like physiotherapy, cognitive therapy, and rehabilitation, all of which use methods that were remarkably similar to the Metaverse before the term was even coined. The truth is that medical care is being revolutionized by technological advancements. Current technological developments are causing a seismic shift in the healthcare sector. New technologies such as virtual reality-enabled therapies and chatbots powered by artificial intelligence are reshaping the medical industry. The widespread implementation of telemedicine represents a major shift. By means of communication networks like video conferencing, telephones, and online chat, telemedicine paves the way for medical practitioners to provide care to patients at a distance. Patients are increasingly turning to telemedicine in an effort to avoid contracting the pandemic virus. Between February 2020 and March 2020, the number of telehealth visits in the United States increased by 4,000%. The next step in the development of telemedicine will take place in the Metaverse. The Metaverse, as was explained before, is a digital environment where users can engage in lifelike interactions with one another and digital artifacts. Because of the ability of create digital twins with the virtual world, the author argues precision medicine and increased individualized research capabilities are made possible by Metaverse. Digital twins are digital representations of citizens. In his opinion, those guinea pigs can help us gain a more nuanced understanding of individual differences in physiological, psychological, and pharmacological profiles. No doubt, patients can receive medical attention in a Metaverse, which raises the possibility of a new method of healthcare delivery. With the added benefit of being able to identify patients in their natural environment, this paves the way for healthcare professionals to provide care during an immersive setting. Following Walcott, there is a current race towards a no longer attempt to create an integrated computer game hospital environment that is accessible through a headset, even though physical hospitals will likely never disappear. Dubai's goal of becoming the global Metaverse hub has inspired Aster DM Healthcare, a hospital chain of the United Arab Emirates, to launch the first medical facility in the Metaverse. They plan to implement Web 3.0 in all of their hospitals so that remote doctors and patients can have a better, more interactive experience. According to the author, Dr. Shanila Biaju, CEO of Medcare Hospitals, stated her belief that traditional telemedicine services would be replaced by a more tangible and artistic service within Metaverse at GTEx 2022, the most important startup and unicorn exhibition worldwide. In a similar vein, the Thumbay Group, a multinational conglomerate, has declared its intention to construct a fully functional virtual hospital in the Metaverse, providing users with a whole immersive healthcare experience. This means that the race has officially begun. Metaverse hospitals have the potential to transform the healthcare system as we know it by reducing costs, increasing access to specialists, and encouraging creative expression. Through the use of telemedicine, doctors can now remotely consult with patients, making diagnoses and outline treatment plans, all without ever having to set foot in the same room. This has resulted in significant changes to healthcare delivery and created new avenues for education and development. Tools such as virtual reality and augmented reality are commonly used within the metaverse to generate photorealistic 3D settings. There are a variety of healthcare applications for metaverse technologies. For instance, they are currently being used to develop like simulations for the purpose of instructing future doctors in the proper execution of various procedures. In addition, they are being implemented in form of the virtual patient consultations to enhance the diagnosis and therapeutic processes. In healthcare, the use of metaverse technologies is just getting started, but the implications are huge. More creative applications of these tools to boost their medical education and training are likely in the future. In addition to the metaverse, newer technologies like Web 3.0 will help make healthcare delivery more effective. Web 1.0, the first interaction of the World Wide Web, featured inflexible, difficult to update websites. With the advent of Web 2.0 came interactive websites, social networks, and user-generated content. Semantic web, a method of organizing data is more easily accessed and understood by computers, is currently developed as part of the Web 3.0. Improved data accuracy and efficiency could have a profound impact on the healthcare industry. Since its early days, a means of disseminating knowledge, the internet has undergone tremendous development. With the rise of Web 2.0, internet giants like Google, Facebook began collecting massive amounts of personal information from their users. Because of this, people are worried that these businesses are abusing their customers' trust and collect personal information without their knowledge or consent. As part of the first wave of online health programs, Web 2.0 tools facilitate collaboration and information sharing among healthcare providers and patients, especially for those with limited internet access or who suffer from a chronic condition. However, it was not without its own storage and management constraints, which we will explain in detail later. Web 3.0 will allow us to store our health records on a distributed network which would have full control. This would improve our privacy and security by making it harder for organizations to exploit our trust. Web 3.0 and its related concepts, such as decentralized finance, may be responsible for this, but the system will still provide individuals and businesses with the opportunity to enhance the healthcare system without relying on a third-party intermediary. In Web 3.0, users have more say over their data and platform as a whole. Therefore, third parties such as governments and corporations can no longer regulate what individuals see and do online. Users will have the control over which services and applications they use, and information will be kept locally in other devices rather than centralized databases. By doing so, users will have more autonomy over their data and contribute to Internet's decentralization. Importantly, this fundamentally different approach to patient data protection is predicated on the principle that any centralized authority can intervene on who requests or needs information, such as medical records. As Dr. Wasim Jarkas explained it before, Web 3.0 has the potential to revolutionize many industries, including healthcare. The majority of our health information is currently housed in centralized databases managed by healthcare providers, insurance, and governmental agencies. The recent high-profile cases of data breaches and medical information misshaping show how this concentration makes it easy for these organizations to violate the trust we place in them. Abhishek Runga, a Forbes contributor, wrote in an article titled, "How Web 3.0 Might Revolutionize Healthcare," in which he argued that the current healthcare systems are hopefully inadequate. The author reflects on the following. When we part with our private medical information on Web 2.0 platforms, we expect services not to abuse our data or change privacy rules at will. Sadly, companies have a history of betraying that trust. Therefore, Trust issues will inevitably arise the next time we submit our genome to genetic testing tools for in-depth research into health or ancestry. A definition of Health 2.0 takes part as a participatory healthcare characteristic by the ability of rapidly share, classify, and summarize individual health information with goals of improving healthcare systems, experiences, and outcomes via integration of patients and stakeholders. High PAA journal data shows that 50 health records with 500 or more individuals were submitted to the United States Office for Civil Rights of the Department of Health and Human Services in January 2022. In January, a data breach affecting over 1.35 million Broward health patients was reported. In spite of improvements, Web 2.0 has introduced new security risks to healthcare system. Web3 arrivals has been a long-awaited blessing for the medical industry. Cyber attacks can happen to healthcare organizations with unprotected websites, web servers, and databases. Databases with insufficient security settings, poor passwords, or no protection at all prime targets for hackers and cyber criminals. There should be adequate technical security measures in place, especially data encryption, for healthcare facilities that handle electronic protected health information. Undocumented cybersecurity policies and procedures, a lack of cyber awareness, and out of medical devices and equipment all contribute to the potential for compromised data. Web 3.0 then is a significant step forward in enhancing healthcare payment and delivery. Tokens based on the blockchain are used in Web 3.0 projects so that members of a like-minded community can have a say in the platform's government, ownership, and use. Therefore, Web3 has many applications in healthcare, including the detection of counterfeiting drugs, the protection of patient data, the use of Metaverse, and more. Then we should take a look at the different potential applications of Web3 in healthcare industry. That's why, according to the main author from Forbes, electronic health records, a mainstay of Web 1 healthcare technology, are primarily targeted for Web3 application. Interoperable patient-owned immutable data could be the solution to many issues with electronic health records if they were shifted from a standalone centralized software. It would be next to impossible for anyone to make an authorized changes or use our medical records due to their widespread availability. With Web3 decentralized economic model, consumers are given ownership of their data and communities is pluralized. In a nutshell, patients will own the next health platform. According to legalhertz.com, there are many potentials on Web3 that would help to build a bright new future of healthcare infrastructure. In the first place, Web3 uses a blockchain technology to guarantee data security and patient management. Even though it employs a structured method of storing data in the permanent ledger of records, Web3 can aid the handling of patient data and data protection because each patient has unique requirements and medical records. Thanks to an open nature of the data, anyone can view the history and track the progress of any updates. To whoever the patient chooses to grant access to the information, it's entirely up to them. That's why restricted to medical professionals only. Doctors and hospitals can securely store patients' medical records on the blockchain using smart contracts that grant access only under strict conditions. With blockchain technology, we can finally have a distributed, decentralized, and unchainable ledger that is secure from any single point of failure. Since the data is spread across multiple nodes, it's extremely difficult to hack, alter, or destroy without first attacking every node in the network. Patients are required to give their consent before any request can be processed to their access to their data. Also, data manipulation is rendered impossible due to systems openness. Now, healthcare providers don't have to worry about the security of their patients' sensitive data. This decentralized healthcare structure, in contrast to centralized alternative, would have to mitigate the widespread data security problems that currently plague the healthcare industry. With your privacy and security are protected because no one can use, access, or sell your personal information without your consent. With the help of Web3 tools, patients will have all their medical information in one easy, accessible location. In addition, patients can turn their medical record into NFTs and use them cash. This allows them to transfer the data into NFTs and then trade on the distributed ledger. These NFTs are only accessible by the patient, allowing for the location to be monitored at all times. Once you have done that, you can resell your records to anyone who is interested in analyzing them, such as scientists or medical equipment manufacturers. Second, counterfeit drugs are becoming an urgent problem in healthcare due to the difficulty of tracking them through the pharmaceutical supply chain. Those who produce illegal drugs frequently dilute or forge the original in order to increase their profits. As a result, the risk at some pharmaceuticals will be misleading or contain insufficient amounts of the active ingredient. The patient's health and condition could deteriorate as a result. There are efforts being made by legitimate pharmaceutical companies to combat the issue of fake drugs, but criminal enterprises are continually developing new methods to pass off them and making imitations of the real thing. Using Web3 in medicine could drastically cut down the number of people taking ineffective or dangerous fake drugs. Blockchain technology allows for the secure transfer of pharmaceuticals. A blockchain network will store each transaction in a block, which cannot be altered once has been added to the chain. In order to ensure the reliability of the transaction of blocks, 10 taps are included. As a result, the pharmaceutical supply chain as a whole is moving into a blockchain, and each medicine is registered before entering circulation. The problem of counterfeit drugs will be solved. It is really imperative that medicines be registered on the blockchain to stop the spread of counterfeit drugs. By doing so, you can rest assured that the medication you are taking is of the highest quality and highest security. The distribution of medicines is a huge problem area, and stock fluctuations can all be tracked with the help of blockchain technology. The security of pharmaceutical supply chain will be greatly enhanced by the implementation of a token ID, that will be an NFT, that allows for streaming tracking. Each NFT metadatum also contains information specific to a given drug. As a third part, cutting-edge technology like augmented reality, virtual reality, robots, and minimally invasive surgery are gaining traction in the prestigious medical institutions. They aid in surgical planning and execution by providing a three-dimensional image of the patient's anatomy. However, augmented and virtual reality technologies cannot accomplish clinical decisions independently. However, the requirements of medical community for accurate surgical procedures can be met by the metaverse. Then the metaverse creates a one-of-a-kind surgical ecosystem by combining a wide variety of technologies like augmented reality, artificial intelligence, virtual reality, 3D reconstruction, blockchain, and even more. Then the metaverse facilitates communication between medical professionals all over the world, allowing patients to find specialists in other countries for procedures that cannot be done locally. After reviewing the patient's profile, the treating physicians can formulate a strategy. Reputable surgeons may enlist the assistance of surgeons in other locations to aid in surgical procedures by communicating with them in the metaverse. This strategy has been effective in places where medical treatment or surgical procedures are not really available for a specific illness or ailment, like in rural areas. The metaverse provides a comprehensive view of patient's body, allowing surgeons to perform the operation and pinpoint the precise location of the disease or tumor, such as in the lungs, for example. And then, just to finish, the last potential that the metaverse and Web 3.0 can have is that when it comes to teaching the future doctors, like in the case of online learning, the tools at their disposal now are mostly, apart from real work environment, 2D movies and photos. So there are a number of ethical laws and concerns that arise when medical students are allowed to practice on cadavers. However, this is a common practice at many medical school facilities. For this reason, the development of metaverse technology has been met with relief. There are currently a number of medical schools using AR, VR, and MR to teach their students about human anatomy. Metaverse with a Web3 add-on helps pupils visualize microscopic human anatomy in 3 dimensions and can even inspire real-world processes. The 3D visualization aids improving a risk-free environment that is immersive, sociable, and engaging. In addition, the metaverse can be used as a training ground for future subjects by allowing the students to practice their craft virtually. Students can use metaverse to practice medical diagnosis, study human anatomy, and even train for surgical procedures.
I'm sorry, Manuel.
We
you'll
know
have to
that
cut
this will
short now.
take, just the final sentence, I want to say that
Sorry.
this will take, of course, a lot of time because we are just in the starting point in our actual world. Nevertheless, both approaches will undoubtedly cause and steer in the healthcare industry, particularly in regards to the classroom and to the clinical setting. So thank you so much for listening today, and I'm available to any question you may have.
Thank you very much, Manuel. I'm sorry to interject you. But
You know,
we
I was very excited about the topic, so that's why.
no, that's
I
so
wanted to
nice
talk
of you.
about it.
So nice of you. We
Apologize.
really enjoyed all the detailed descriptions. However, I see there is no question, so we'll move to the next speaker. Enterprise NFT is a technology that can be used in any industry, from luxury, fashion to media industry. NFTs help enterprises to create a secure ecosystem for their customers and products, and can help you protect your brand and supply chain. An enterprise metaverse, by definition, is a metaverse that enables business growth opportunities for an enterprise. Enterprise metaverse refers to immersive virtual spaces for businesses to promote their digital tools and services. Zara is super active in the metaverse realm at Dubai, the global capital of metaverse. Let us hear her valuable inputs from Dubai. Welcome, Zara. Screen is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Sindhu. Thank you, everybody. We had such a good session so far, 1.5 hours. And it's been really insightful from all you guys. So just, I'm going to be talking a little bit about Metaverse as well, because it is my industry. Okay, so Metaverse is providing a lot of opportunities these days for enterprises. You know, it gives businesses a chance to evolve and transform everything from how they interact with customers, products and services offered, production, distribution processes, organizational operations, and much more. And with the research showing that metaverse will infiltrate every sector in the coming years, you know, we can see more than opportunities worth more than $1 trillion in annual revenues. So what the metaverse is going to do is going to shape up the next decade of businesses. That's what I personally believe in. And being in Dubai with the Sheikh Hamdan also announcing all the metaverse strategy, I think we're in the right space at the right time. So the metaverse is going to build new worlds. We're going to explore new markets. We're going to have the abilities to replicate the real world using technologies like the AR, VR, MR, and XR. Being in the next iteration of the internet and social media, Metaverse definitely offers various opportunities. Okay, so let's have a look at just a couple of businesses, business sectors in the world, which have already heavily invested in Metaverse, or at least even touched about it. So we've got the computer and IT sector for sure. And then we've got education being quite a large portion. Then we've got finance, we've got medical, we've got health, we've got travel industry, we've got construction, much more, even up to defense and entertainment. So we have seen the world changed a lot with the metaverse. In the past year, in this past 12 months, I think we have evolved a lot compared to how we were adopting things earlier in the days, 20, 30 years ago, when we had to adopt internet. It took everybody quite some time. But now when we saw metaverse coming in, I think it started being a topic of conversation since last year, but things started going heavily this year, especially from February when Sheikh Hamdan announced he announced in April, but in February we started seeing a new world over here. And in April when he announced, and in September when he had the Metaverse Assembly, I think things have really taken a leap. So let's talk a bit about how the NFT will impact enterprises and e-commerce. I'm gonna go heavily a little bit on e-commerce because I think that is the core of a lot of businesses these days in Web 2. And coming to Web 3, e-commerce plays a big role. Okay, so NFT are essentially the modern day customer avatars. Like you have passport, it connects you to a country. So with a passport, you can go to certain areas. And what NFT provides is it actually provides an identity where you can interact either with a specific brand, either with a specific metaverse, or you can be in any businesses at all, whether it be in the metaverse or in real life. Okay, NFT, they enable unique digital assets to be sold and traded in the blockchain. So it creates a whole new opportunity for e-commerce. So now you have seen the trend of a lot of NFT marketplaces coming by. So previously we sold things on Amazon, we did eBay, we did and every country would have their own e-commerce stores. But now we are seeing NFT marketplaces and it's going global. Okay, and what can be sold on here is NFTs, which can also have a link to real life, whereby when you purchase an NFT online, it doesn't have to just stay online and just be a picture of an ape or a monkey or something like that. You can actually use it to redeem in real life. Look at Tiffany's. When Tiffany's were doing their NFT drops, there you could purchase them and you could just go and redeem your actual Tiffany necklace in Tiffany stores. So you don't have to be at the particular place, particular time. It saves you time, it saves you energy, it saves you travel. So if you're really stuck in a place and you're unable to move, you can still buy the NFT and have the same access to a Tiffany necklace. Look at it that way. And then another way that the NFT can help e-commerce is by differentiating their offerings and attracting new customers, as well as driving higher value transactions. NFT enables e-commerce platforms to offer new types of digital assets. Like I mentioned, we have the virtual collectibles, we have the digital art, and then we're going into a new realm whereby we're actually offering virtual real estate. We are offering people to build on the real estate. You can build a school if you want, you can build a hospital if you want, you can build whatever you want. Just imagine and it can happen really. How futuristic, how realistic, how cartoonish it can be is entirely up to you. That's where I think the beauty about this is it's just a land of your imagination. And on the other hand, we have token gated commerce, which I think is quite important for businesses in general. So you use the NFT as a token gate. A token gate means it's something like a ticket. Okay, in real life, you would use a ticket to gain access to some place. But with the NFT, you can use it to probably gain access to a certain brand's pre-release, pre-launches, certain products which are not going to be sold to the public yet. They would open, people who actually hold this NFT would be able to gain access to them before it goes out to public. Things like this. And it either can be in the metaverse or it can be in real life. Look at even luxury brands. Look at Gucci, look at LV. They have started promoting things in metaverse itself, and some of them you can just use them in the metaverse as virtually, but some of them you can also redeem in real life. So it's really a two-way thing. I personally believe that the metaverse is going to be huge, but at the same time adoption is going to take a little bit of time, not too much, but I think we are getting there. Okay, and then you would have seen that since last year the NFT came into space, it has attracted a lot of investment, a lot of media attention, a lot of awareness, and people are supporting NFT. But last year, it was all about purchasing, getting some access to certain events. But this year, the trend has changed a little bit. People started asking about utilities. What can I do with my NFT exactly? So with the NFT as a business, you would want to give an NFT which would provide value. So if you give either you drop or you sell it, either or. Okay, when you do that, you're giving a sense of knowing which is your main people who's around you. And together with that, you have your own community. And once you take this and go on to the metaverse, you have your own community where you can offer virtual meetups from all over the world. So let's say a big brand like Nike, Adidas, whatsoever, when you have an OG NFT from them, OG being the pioneers, you know, you can have access to like very personalized events. You would love it because you see, with COVID happening, we had a lot of limitation of traveling, and we have seen that impacted the industry a lot from COVID, from the tourism sector and everything. And also, if you notice now, I think flights and tourism sector have gone up in price compared to before. I believe it was so much cheaper before, but yeah. So I feel that the adoption of NFT in e-commerce can really help drive the broader adoption of blockchain technology. And the core of everything is the blockchain technology, indeed. And you know, and with education, I believe that we can go very far with NFT and also the e-commerce. So let me go next. Okay, so I'm just gonna touch. I think I got a few more minutes, Dr. Sindhu. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
Yes. So I'm gonna talk about how the metaverse can actually innovate and grow brands. And NFT definitely comes into space. Cryptocurrency definitely comes into space. So we have seen in the past, I would say about past 9 months, we have seen a lot of virtual events, virtual concerts coming by. And anybody probably attended some of these events and you see how it's going. Okay, so we're not only talking about a concert, you can always do things like a talk show. You can do an exhibition, you can do yoga classes, and then you get to pick and choose, depending on which metaverse platform you go onto, you get to pick and choose what is your scenery going to be like. So it's totally transformed how things are going to take place. And then the other thing which started becoming famous was the virtual galleries, art galleries. Okay, so museum and galleries, if we could view them in the metaverse, I mean, to travel to Paris to go and see the Louvre, not everybody has the money or time or whatever it may be. So if you could really actually just hook on your Oculus and get into that space and be able to view it one-to-one, is such an amazing experience. If any of you have not tried the Oculus yet and seen some experiences or views, I suggest you should do it, because we did it and we were like, wow, like literally. It was a whole new experience, and with almost photorealistic environment, it really makes it amazing. I even sat on a roller coaster, because I think it's been a couple of years since sitting on a roller coaster. So hooking on an Oculus, sitting on a roller coaster, going, it was amazing. And yeah, I didn't have to leave my home, and I get to experience the same thing. How wonderful is that? I know I'm going a little bit off topic here, but I'm just trying to explain to you why the metaverse is so significant and how the NFT is going to come and play space. On the other hand, we're talking about entertainment. See, a lot of people need entertainment. It is inevitable. We have business, we have entertainment, we have gaming, we have life to live. Okay, so with entertainment, there can be things like casinos. There can be watching a horse race. You can watch a movie in 3D. You can play a game in 3D. Imagine being in the actual place. How many of us have actually imagined being in that place while playing games? You know, so it's a whole new different experience. And or how many of you would like to have a meeting with like us? You know, there's so many of us. Imagine if you could have a meeting sitting in one table together in the same place, obviously as avatars, but it is a much personalized and much different experience. So NFT would come into space as to provide the token gating. So let's say I'm having a meeting and only Dr. Sindhu and a few people are invited. What happens is all these people will be provided with the NFT, and in that allocated time, you will use this to scan your way in, and you'll be sitting on your allocated chair, and we would all be like in a boardroom kind of thing, something along those lines. So this promotes a whole different experience, even coming to working. And we have seen a lot of remote working taking space. See, with the COVID impacting, with the pandemic impacting, we have done a lot of hybrid working. Mostly we have worked online, and then when things started getting back into space, we started doing hybrid. Okay, so it really helps when we have to have a discussion. Sometimes it's really nice just to have people like almost in front of you. The experience is surreal. And then we've got learning and training, like a few of the previous speakers have mentioned. Okay, when it comes to learning and training, imagine if you're a medical student, you're being able to dissect a body as part of a training. Or if you're an airline cabin crew training, and you're able to just hook on and actually learn about your whole entire plane, about the galley, where is everything. Along with this comes the biggest part, education. So I feel the key to everything is really education. And NFT provides a lot of access to a lot of things. Metaverse is a whole new experience. And I think we have a lot more to explore. We are really in the initial stages of everything. And one other thing for businesses or enterprises to come, the Metaverse, NFT, and cryptocurrencies can really provide you a new revenue stream. If you do your marketing properly, if you actually adapt, you have all the right tools in place, you would see a new economy. So that's it from me. I think I'm right on time. Thank you, everyone.
You are not on time, but there are
Okay.
a couple of questions for you.
Yes.
First
sure.
question is how concept like holoportation can bring impact in industry sector.
See, like I was giving just a small thing about a student, medical student. Okay, when he could learn everything in that concept, in a hologram or in the metaverse kind of concept, he gets to learn, he gets to dissect things without having to hurt any bodies, without having to use a dead body, or even like learning a dangerous profession. You get to go and explore, like maybe deep sea diving, in the oil rigs, you have to go and dangerously do things under the sea without having to actually risk your life. You actually get to experience and learn everything, which I think gives you much more confidence when you actually have to actually go into the water.
There is another interesting question. If NFT hacked wallets and blockchain security centralized exchange experience the weaker security, of course, I cannot understand this whole question, but maybe you can find some lead here. If
Okay, what is the
NFT wallet is hacked and blockchain security, which is on centralized exchange, that is compromised, what will be the experience with weaker securities? Because everything now depends on these blockchain exchanges and NFT wallets.
Okay, unfortunately, I know that's a very big topic around, and yes, there is still wallets being hacked. There is centralized wallets being hacked. There is decentralized wallets being hacked. There's so many things which are going on, which we don't understand sometimes. Like, I'm not from a tech background, but from what I've seen is, at the end of the day, we have to take the best measures that we can, whether it being a centralized or uncentralized, because we have too much access to our mobile. And the other day, just a couple of days ago, I saw someone who said, oh, I just accidentally pressed an API key and attached something from my centralized wallets, and my assets disappeared. So it's centralized wallets. We would think, hey, centralized wallets, the company would look after us, but no. Then the company says, no, it was your fault that you clicked on that link. But so who's to blame? So for me, I think whatever digital assets I have, I save it on a complete different phone. I don't use my main phone. I don't give access of it to anybody. And definitely not use Wi-Fi. So that is something that you shouldn't do. I've seen a lot of people. I've seen my personal friends losing just by using Wi-Fi, not realizing. And so security is on us, ourselves.
Thank you very much. So
Thank
NFTs
you.
are basically for transaction and because they establish your identities. So it is easily you can transact, and since it has to be P2P, so identities will work there and make you secure and in this decentralized environment. But again, always the question is how decentralized is this medium and how centralized it is. So both are so competing with each other, very difficult to say, but only time will tell us and determine which way we are moving. Now moving to
Yes.
the next speaker, Metaverse is immersive, fully accessible, and has open nature, which makes it very, very perfect for recreating critical human interactions. Many enterprise applications are available for companies that provide incredible virtual environments to build products, test ideas, and innovate with colleagues. It sounds like setting up some sort of ESG standards for metaverse environment. Please note that we are more perfect in metaverse rather than in real life, because in real life we are bundles of virtues and vices, both. But I think presumably metaverse is only full of virtues, but it is the reflection of our main self. So I don't believe that metaverse is going to be only virtuous. The vices will definitely creep in, and we need to see how much DAO can control it. Is it really going to control it? Because we talk of democracy and all that, that is we the people, government of the people, by the people, for the people. So DAO is something like that, consensus mode of we the people. Let us see. Only time will tell, because I'm coming back to this conclusion time and again, because it is a very new concept and a lot of things have to be stabilized here. Now the next speaker is Eve. So she's going to give you some details about this metaverse, because she is a founder of one of the companies. And as we know, a digital version of our end-to-end supply chain, from raw materials to delivery, continuously replicating in real time. All these are enterprise metaverse, and it creates a lot of commercial and business opportunities, and it perfects the say drawbacks and shortcomings of our commercial operations. It provides an early warning of a disruption in one vendor's production capabilities. It managers receive a real-time report of existing inventory buffers, alternative suppliers, and comparable parts. The research and development organization receives a 3D replica of it, and its impact on customers and existing process is automatically simulated. So we are in midst of a virtual factory, which is simulating all the resulting production disruption, and even giving leaders recommendations to ensure that production quality remains high by optimizing workforce and shipping schedules during the changeover. So Eve Logunova Parker gives us the industrial cases and the assessment. Welcome, Eve. Floor is all yours.
Thank you very much.
The digital floor.
Can you hear me well?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, fantastic. Hello, everyone. I'll be sharing my screen today, and I will be addressing some practical examples of industrial use cases / industry use cases in support of the previous speakers as well. And I saw there was a question about the heavy production digital twins. So that's how I'm going to finish the presentation. So stay tuned. Now, let me pull the magic to the screen by sharing. Okay. Do you see my screen now?
Yeah.
Okay, lovely. Okay. All right. So presents. Always get confused with Canva, but it's a handy tool. Now, okay, here we are. Right, so I'm Eve, founder of Eveness. Eveness stands for balance, species, mathematical numbers, applications. And we specialize in, as a company, we specialize in extended reality Web3 AI solutions, providing AI solutions that are accessible and inclusive by design. So American and Dutch by incorporation, covering the world now. It's a little bit of snippet where the business comes from, but the intention of business comes also from conducting research first before going diving deeper into the metaverse applications. For the last 2.5 years, right before the pandemic started, my team and I, the co-founders, met each other, and we understood the potential that metaverse brings. It is, first of all, a tool that brings people together. There are no boundaries, no limitations, no to participation in the ecosystem or ideas and imagination of individuals. By empowering collaboration and bringing businesses, creators, innovators, students, name it, everyone together, we can actually find solutions faster, develop innovative products, and address sustainable approach that helps for the betterment of people and the climate. Now, what we learned during the last 2 years is very important, because the world has changed, especially the pandemic showed that people are searching for the ways to stay engaged but be remote. It's kind of a hybrid environment of phygital, as the new term expresses, physical merged with digital. People are searching for more personalized ways of being engaged, of working. Future work is no longer 40 hours a week in the office space. It is project-based, gig-driven, passion-centered. And once we go into the production and materials, it's usability-centered. The efficiency of every second of your operation equals to the commercial profits, revenue, and what you generate as business. Now, this, take a screenshot if you want to, it is a very powerful understanding of where the world is going. Because once we realize that we can put passion at the center of things, usability in the matter of production, and bring the whole world together, that's how we speed up the resilience, remove all the volatility in the market, and address the sustainable development goals, or ESG goals, in our approach. Okay, let me give you examples. So this is the interesting part. We've covered some of the examples. 2015, let's go back in the year of 2015. It was already almost like 15 years in the metaverse virtual world existence. Second Life was there. NASA was implementing it for testing astronauts going to Mars in 10 years from then. Finland decided that they want to have a photorealistic digital replica of the Finnish capital and bring people together. So the intention was to get access to the residents, direct access, to answer to their questions, also to invite them into the cultural perspective, public celebrations, and organize somewhat town halls with the government from time to time. 2018 is when the digital replica, you see it here in the bubble, this is Finnish flag, started becoming immersive. So if you put a VR headset nowadays, you can actually walk in the Finnish capital of Helsinki. And you can also participate in events such as May Day in the Senate Square that was organized and attended by 1.4 million of people. It was both virtual and physical. Now, South Korea impresses me tremendously because they invested they plan to invest in stages, 186.7 million of dollars into the production of their metaverse that is meant to bring young people to the government, so as an electorate, voters, and active citizens who understand where the government is going, how the city is developing, and also address virtual tourism, empower as well investments, and the open dialogue. So if you Google, you will see the case that it takes years in organizing stages, but it's fascinating how cartoonish / realistic it is to match the interest of the younger generation, that is the prime audience, and by doing so, engage them in the gamified dialogue. Metaverse Dubai, this is an amazing example. The Gold City, and Zara addressed the developments in that field. The Golden City, the City of Gold, is one of the leaders in implementing metaverse developments, be at the forefront of innovation. And what I like most about it is the NFT blockchain trading enabled, digital real estate enabled metaverse space that's being built in the concept of the real world map of the city of Dubai and United Arab Emirates. So you can see it's not yet an open metaverse. The first round was dedicated to participation of MVP coin collectors. So the minimal viable product was addressed first, but the intention is to excite and invite as many people as possible to participate in 220,000 blocks of metaverse space. So you will see that the projects are different. And one of the fields that is still to be covered is the presentation of cultural heritage, preservation of cultural heritage. Many countries, like, for example, Mexico or Georgia, they organize their public holidays, events, traditions to have a digital replica of their cultural essence. Now, just a few examples, because the speakers before me covered this. NFT and virtual fashion example is of Artifact Nike. Nike got Artifact to produce various forms of Nike shoes designs or clothes designs, and give the power to the people to decide what is the next style that they need to make as a physical version, or keep it digital only. You can make it interactive, like in Mercedes visual, that avatars sit inside the car and drive around. You can have mass market shopping malls and participate in the thrift shopping, which is secondhand things to be sold. And of course, you can have shops, views, presentations for the experience, like Gucci does in Roblox environment. Now, universities and schools industry for academia is very exciting, especially after 2 years of the pandemic. Graduation parties moved into first Zoom calls. They were not interactive, not engaging, kind of boring. Students started complaining. And then once we heard that magical word metaverse, it all changed. Here's an example of the Indonesian University Telkom that organizes graduation events in the metaverse. You can also see University Campus replica as a digital twin of Tokyo University. It's an upward bubble. And many other schools entering the metaverse with their events for alumni, for open doors for the new students, or have somewhat boot camps and short courses for the participants. Large enterprises and scale-ups, they take it to the next level of the future of work, where you bring teams together for tech sprints, strategic reviews, performance reviews, planning, town halls, stakeholder meetings, investor meetings. You can also organize external events for communities, partners, clients, to celebrate, to praise, to plan, to envision. And that gives Metaverse gives a powerful platform for product testing. And once you merge products with communities, because Metaverse, once again, borderless ecosystem, that's where innovation sprints like with the speed of light. Now, digital twins, that was a question addressed, is a very complex project. We've heard from NVIDIA, for example, Omniverse term that appears. It's a focus on absolute digital replica of a factory or, let's say, a facility of some kind. Can be also farms underwater or above water for securing the food reserves and supply chain in the future. It can be a replica of a spaceship or craft that goes to explore the horizons. And it can be also used for various training purposes in order to secure the skills, the professional levels among the staff, and operational excellence among the performance. So one of the interesting examples I kindly recommend you searching for is the United States Navy, who invested a tremendous amount of money into creating a replica of Pearl Harbor and 4 other Navy locations, where they have a lot of software and hardware and submarines and ships to be controlled. And you can find the information more in details online. Now, physical goes virtual, virtual goes data. And that's where the power comes with AI-powered metaverse spaces. Once you not only see the virtual replica of your, I don't know, the robot arm or avatar, but you can actually measure and see all the dashboards in one view. That becomes the virtualization economy that creates the opportunity to see, to test, to co-create, and to implement. I would like to finish my presentation with a video of what Ivnos is working on, and it is a smart city of the future, which is virtual, where we provide the opportunities for businesses, brands, creators, and innovators come together to be part of the ecosystem, to put various virtual solutions in practice, to showcase, to crowd test together. And also, if you are someone who is entering the technology or innovation field, to be able to not only be incentivized for doing something for others, like testing their products, but learn from that experience, get skills, be matched with jobs, and find opportunities to launch maybe your own startup, be inspired to change your life, to make it better and stronger and more efficient. So you can see that you can praise and embrace the variety of avatars in different forms. It can be realistic environments, and some other metaverse spaces provide virtual space-focused environments, or more creative environments. But what differentiates is that open metaverse spaces need to have some data metrics in order to understand the performance. And one of the next speakers, this is my last comment now, is going to be Jordan Woods, an extraordinary professional in terms of diversity, equity, and inclusion. He will cover that part more. But I would say this is what makes it different. The virtual spaces, VS, very active environments where people involved, engaged, and they work on solutions together. The environments needs to be safe, inclusive, and accessible. Personalized usability first and collaborative approach needs to be there. Cybersecure virtual economy is a must, and responsibility of a user comes first. That means what Zara said, do not share any links or your assets will be gone. And engaging community relations and marketing, that's what brings people together to the environment to test, to learn, to fall in love with it, and live happily ever after. Well, thank you very much. I'm open to your questions. If you have any, my contact details, you can scan the QR code and reach out on LinkedIn. It's a pleasure, Dr. Sindhu Bashkar. Thank you for inviting, and thank you all the speakers.
Thank you very much, Eve, for taking out time to be here. Of course, I have a couple of questions. One is, what are digital twins and how they can work in heavy industry sector?
Right. So in the example of, let's say, Siemens and NVIDIA partnering together, they bring replicas to the surface. One example I already addressed, that's the Navy of the United States. But you can also look at the factories and facilities, let's say, Siemens Digital Native Factory that exists. It's in Nanjing. It's one of the examples. And the entire factory was simulated with a digital twin, which optimized the building, all the detected problems and opportunities, let's say. So you would see that on the dashboard, if it's in Metaverse, you would see the correlation of what you see virtually. Let's say employee sits somewhere in another city, supervises the performance of the infrastructure. He cannot be physically, or she cannot be physically in the factory. But by looking at the dashboard, we can see the performance of the software. Now, if the person is to optimize, create, and virtualize the infrastructure, it's better when it's VR, immersive, and you can test and try. So that's basically it's an increase of productivity by 20%, and capacity of your operation can be increased, in this case of Nanjing's factory, by 200%.
So in a way, virtual factory simulates any resulting production disruptions, or even it can suggest what should be the modus operandi for optimum utilization of the resources. And it also gives leaders recommendations to ensure that production quality remains high by optimizing workforce and shipping schedules during the changeover.
Correct. Yeah. Agree.
Yeah, and of course, as you said, talked about this Chinese company and all that. So with their digital version of end-to-end supply chains, do you think that any breakage in supply chain can also be interpreted by them, and they can do the forecasting of the problems that can come in the supply chain, and accordingly they can take care of those incidences?
Absolutely. It's like working with finance forecasts, right? You predict what next, let's say, 5 years bring. In this case, you are mitigating risks by forecasting the possible scenarios. You can virtualize and visualize any possible breakages, dysfunctioning of the performance, I don't know, partners missing here and there, and what should be replaced or focused on. Now, if the let's say production is of small kind of items, that may be easier to oversee without virtualization, precise virtualization of items. But once you're talking about green energy, solar panels, solar plants across the deserts or windmills, it's very hard to understand what is where and how to preserve the production. And that's where virtualization helps, drone that collects all the data points and matches with the metaverse space. And I think by doing that, we not only support people in their journey, in their process, but also find solutions that are more sustainable in application.
And I remember while talking to you, we have always talked about different metaverse islands that you are creating for different subsectors of economy and say humanity and social life and economic life. So the question I think probably relates to that. An open metaverse that mimics how we operate in the real world depends on interoperability. What is interoperability? Why is it important? And what will it take to make it happen in metaverse?
That's a very good question. Interoperability is something we dream of, but it's not yet existent, because every platform that was built, it was built with its own set of infrastructure and software touch points and APIs and name it. So everyone has their own set of criteria. To put it all together, that avatar, like in Ready Player Me, walks from one space to another, and it's put together by different companies and providers, is still a dreamland. But what we can do in order to make it happen, like what Evenes does with Inner City X that we're working on, first of all, the approach should be, okay, if you give power to the people and businesses, they come with their own infrastructure, their own chains, protocols, smart contracts, NFTs, name it, hash graphs. So you need to really make the architecture flexible, and then also on the back end supported by AI for the correlation of things, and not just from the point of collecting somebody's data, but from the point of making the solution performing well and tailored to the needs of the users. So therefore, I think in our case, we are disrupting the norm by building it in a tailored specific way. Imagine we have a central island and then 20 industrial islands that now being reserved by the leading companies or associations or academias. And then from there, you can go on individual islands. And that is also kind of bring your identity to the metaverse because we're creating an open space that is interoperable. And then we can integrate with Decentralize and Spatials and all the other platforms.
But that brings us to a very another very
Yeah.
important question, that the major challenge of building a metaverse is based on trust and secure transactions.
Right.
What will be the proof of authenticity, ownership, and identities here, and how NFT can solve this?
A very, very important question. Our three pillars of security that we're addressing with our solution, for example, and this is the standard we are addressing at various conferences, is that it's not only about your crypto assets or NFT assets that cybersecurity affects or should focus on. There are three pillars. It's privacy of data, GDPR compliant data. That means that you own your data and not somebody else that uses and takes all advantage of your data. Then you have cybersecurity of digital assets from NFTs and tokens and so on. And what's most important, less addressed, digital identities. Digital identity, that means that if you have your avatar, and you have your photo, you can put the photo instead of the cartoonish face of avatar, and you can have your digital replica walking around. Now, because it's not registered on blockchain or anywhere, I can have your photo, create the same avatar and walk as you, and you would never see what I'm doing with your identity. Maybe I'm breaching, I don't know, conducting fraudulent transactions. So all of that needs to be smartly addressed in solutions, because otherwise we're creating in not so well protected, I would say, world where everyone becomes super vulnerable to be taken advantage by others. And that's what cyber criminals love doing, as we can see from all the smart wallets, stolen assets.
Right. So one last question for you now. How building virtual cars on a one-to-one scale within the metaverse, how it can be done one-to-one on one-to-one scale, virtual cars? I don't know what it is.
Virtual cars? I'm not sure I'm understanding the question correctly.
So even I cannot understand it. Virtual cars on a one-to-one scale.
So let me just rephrase. Maybe I understood it.
Maybe I think we are trying to create phantom metaverse with the same size, or what?
That's pretty much, I think, what's meant. But the way you create it in metaverse, there is parcels that you use for measurements. So let's say 100 by 100 meters equals 1 by 1 parcel, for example, right? It depends how the system sets the criteria for measurements. But then if you're doing one-on-one replica of the car, you should take into considerations the measurements of the metaverse space. So you basically divide to make it smaller in the metaverse space, but according to the standards of metaverse, it's exact size that you can replicate in the real environment. So let's say if your car, I don't know, is the size of a small room, then in the metaverse it will be a size of 2 pixels or 1 pixel. So it depends on the measurements. But I hope I answered your question. I'm not sure if I understood.
Yeah, I think that answers the question. And thank you very much. I think it was basically to have the index for it, that what should be the dynamics of actual measurement in metaverse measurement. I think that was the question. Thank you very much for taking so many questions and giving so much of time to the session and coming here. Once again, I am very, very thankful and grateful to you. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
So we go to the next speaker now. Blockchain gaming is going to be key in the next 2 or 3 years. However, we do know that Metaverse has its root in the gaming industry itself. But now with blockchain and Web3 getting combined with Metaverse, the whole dynamics of gaming is also changing, and we have come across a lot of blockchain-based games, now blockchain with Metaverse games, which are highly immersive, and they are also trying to create more identities for our avatars and for the players. So with all three combined, blockchain, gaming, NFTs, and DeFi, you will see something genuinely new and exciting. Metaverse is a social platform and a platform where multiple people can play on the same platform, or the same concept called multiplayer system can be immersed in the metaverse, which is among the primary reasons to create immersive gameplay. Decentraland, Sandbox, Gamma have the different models and schemes for metaverse backed by their own coin. Metaverse is pushing the frontiers of the gaming industry. The evolution of tools like 5G are making it more significant and more pronounced as well. Now we have with us Jonathan Emmanuel on this interesting topic from Ireland. Welcome, Jonathan. So, of course, this is not a gaming field, but the digital screen is with you. You can play your shots here now. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sindhu. And thank you everyone for having me here today. So I will be talking about the future of gaming and the exciting potential of the metaverse. But first, let me tell you a short story. You know, back in the early days of computing, people used to think of computers as a big, clunky machines that only mathematicians and scientists, you know, could understand. But then along came the personal computers, and with it, the world has really changed. You know, suddenly computers are now accessible to everyone. They have become tools for creativity, communication, for connection. And with the rise of the internet, computers has even become more powerful. Now we understand, now we stand at the brink of another transformation. Of course, a transformation that will take us even further into the digital world, a transformation that will merge the real and the virtual and create a new reality that is virtually indistinguishable from ours. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm talking about the metaverse. Now, we've been hearing about the word metaverse, metaverse, metaverse. You know, there's not really a proper definition to it, or even where the word was gotten from. You know, and I would say metaverse is, you know, a term coined by science fiction author Neil Stephenson. You know, it describes a virtual shared space where people can interact with each other and a wide range of digital media. So what does this mean for gaming? You know, it means that the future of gaming is going to be unlike anything we've ever seen before. With the metaverse, we will be able to create gaming experience that are more advanced, more realistic, and more immersive than anything we've ever imagined. Think about it this way. You know? With the metaverse, you won't just be playing a game on a screen. Okay, you will be able to step inside the game. You will be able to see, hear, touch, and interact with virtual world in a way that feels completely natural. And not only will the metaverse allow us to create more realistic games, it will also enable the creation of entirely new types of game. You know, massive multiplayer online games, for example, that will allow hundreds and hundreds of players come together in a virtual world and experience the game together. But the metaverse isn't just about the games, it's about the people who play them. With the metaverse, we will be able to connect with other players in ways that are simply, we would term, magical. So in short, metaverse is going to change the way we think about gaming. It's going to make it more immersive, more interactive, and more social. And it's going to open a whole new world of possibility for the gaming industry. The gaming industry itself, it's, you know, over a $200 billion industry. And I believe with a lot of big players coming into the metaverse and decentralized world right now, you know, they are going to make a lot of impact in it. And there are a lot of challenges right now in the metaverse and decentralized world. You know, people, when you talk about decentralized, when you talk about blockchain, they just, you know, compare it with Bitcoin and, you know, the speculative market of blockchain. But metaverse, you know, gaming is a whole different world entirely. And I believe if we all come together, if we all research the right way and fund the right research, I believe it's going to change the way gamers connect right now. You know, like big players like Meta, Amazon, and Google, they're doing a very big thing for the gaming industry right now. If you see the Oculus, you know, there are a lot of games in the Oculus that can really make you feel as if you are in the game. So it's an interesting world for us out there. And I do believe there is, you know, very large opportunity for gamers here there's very large opportunity for the game producers itself. So thank you so much. So that'll be all for now. Thank you so much, Dr. Sindhu.
Sir, are you there?
Yes. So before Dr. Sindhu comes, so if anybody has any question, you can simply drop it and I will be happy.
I'm here. I thought that you are just taking time to, you are pausing to come out with something else.
Okay.
So, anyways, thanks very much and giving a heads up on the new gaming scenario. Of course, we are out of that age group, so I don't know how many games we can play, but still, it is a very important part and parcel of metaverse, because there is one question also on this, that how can we let me read that question. How banks can engage younger consumers in the metaverse. And your gaming concept is very, very important for us, because I'm also part of Branch X, the neobank in India, and we have tried gamification models, and we are using gamification models to encourage young customers and to join our banking and take the services from there, because I think that is the one very good way of incentivizing people and stoking their interest in the whole organization and system, and make them draw closer to you. So those, I think the gamification is a very, very good incentive model for different organizations or different businesses, and everyone is trying to do it. And there are incentive tokens and incentive coins by which they try to inculcate and create followings among the younger generation. Now, we have been talking about all these things. There is one aspect of metaverse which I think we have missed out, or say we don't have any speaker on that. Maybe in the second season of our talk, we will have it. That is the advertisement in metaverse. So here I would like to just introduce one of the concepts that we have done. My very good friend and just like my younger brother, Mr. Ashutosh Singh, we have created a blockchain-based newspaper. And the whole purpose of this Web3 of journalism is that news pieces are created by us and then curated by the consensus model of the blockchain. And result is the genuine and true news for all. And the contributor is rewarded with worth coins. Now we have also added the ad network platform in Worthium, and the coin is called worth coins. So this is the unique revenue model for the company, while creating a P2P economy model for worth coins. Ads are going to be published against worth coins. Either worth coins are purchased from the company or the holders of worth coins who canvas ads from clients, and they can sell their own coin to facilitate publication of the ad. So this is, I think, one of the real and very, very apparent decentralized model of economy working in this DAO community, if we are able to create that. So we can create the journalistic DAO or DAO journalism and create all these opportunities for the participants. So metaverse enables people to have virtual identities presence, and agency, including peer-to-peer transactions and interactions, and user-generated content and world building, as you can see, because that is the whole genre of Web3 based metaverse. And with that, what happens, that metaverse allows companies to create their own world that represents their brand. And mind it, no video or ad world can have more impact than this immersive world of metaverse, wherein companies are creating their own advertisement and their own business. Each world becomes unique, and it creates a fully immersive experience for the customers. And that becomes the boon for boosting their own company and own business. Thank you very much, Jonathan. So we now move to the next very, very much awaited speaker, Jordan Woods. So let me have a brief introduction for the topic. Diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI, as we say, is crucial for the metaverse platforms, because these values are the foundation of a good user experience, and only a positive impact will bring it to the mainstream. Supposing if we go to a site, any metaverse site, and there people are abusing each other, I don't think anyone will like to go there. So discipline and ethic is also important in metaverse sector, and that is why we are talking of diversity, equity, and inclusion. If one gets any harassment in metaverse, those people, men or women, will avoid going there. Accessing the metaverse will allow us to take part in the creator economy, where we will possess digitized assets, non-fungible tokens, NFT, and have a strong and legally recognized digital identity. Decentralized Autonomous Organization, DAOs, are a staple of Web3, because that is how Web3 has to progress. Sorry. Internet native and blockchain-based DAOs are intended to provide a new democratized management structure for businesses, projects, and communities. Jordan Woods is a great proponent of DAO. In his book, Enterprise Blockchain is Coming, and his Astrosapien organization. When he is here, I need not talk about DAO and DEI. A very warm welcome to Jordan. Everything is yours here now, Jordan. I think you are going to pulverize our attendees and listeners.
Thank you, Sindhu. Appreciate that warm welcome. And, it's great to hear the other speakers and all the different topics that have been covered. I think one of the very critical components of Web3 and Web3-based metaverses that is often not focused on is really the aspects that can lead it to people of different diversities, of different backgrounds to work together in more of a harmonious environment. And you might ask, well, why is this? Why is it that Web3 is so different from Web2? And as you heard, there is a decentralized foundation for blockchain-based systems. It's a peer-to-peer kind of a network rather than going through a centralized entity. When you have a centralized entity, it's very important to realize that that sets up inequality, right? One group has more power and more information than all the other groups. And if you have peering between centralized organizations, the communities are considered less than. They do not have equal access to the information. They do not have transparency to the same level of information and as you might find in a decentralized ecosystem. So for example, in a blockchain-based ecosystem, no peer has any more information than any other peer. They're all identical in terms of the information sharing. And anyone who is not a network peer, but is a user of the system, has the same level of information access on the transactions as the peers themselves. So there is no discrepancy. There's actually an equal amount of information and an equal amount of access from all of the different groups. So this sets up an ecosystem that is based on fairness. It's based on the concept of transparency. You cannot have a one node blockchain, right? There's no such thing. A blockchain is a peering system across multiple nodes. And so the minimum set that you deal with in a blockchain or a decentralized ecosystem that's based on blockchain is community. So communities obviously are part of Web 2, but if you look at the way communities are structured in Web 2, like, you know, a Zoom or a Facebook or any of the applications that we use regularly, again, you have one organization that has control. It has control of our information. It has control of our assets. We don't own anything online, right? There is nothing that we, unless you're in a decentralized ecosystem, actually own. 2 is a foundation. Web 3 is disempowering. We are passive in a Web 2 ecosystem. There is one group that has control of that ecosystem, and we do not have the same level of power, the same level of access, the same level of information. And often we become the product that they sell to other people. In a Web 3 ecosystem, we all have equal access, equal information. There's a basic sense of fairness. And a very important concept, which has been touched on by some of the other speakers, is that we can control our assets and our information. So for example, if you are in a true Web3 ecosystem for cryptocurrencies, for example, we own our tokens. They are ours, they're in our wallet. We have the concept of a digital wallet. And in that digital wallet, we can hold the things that we own online. When you're in a Web2 ecosystem, our accounts supposedly hold the things that we own, but we don't own them. Those can be taken from us. They can be, you know, stripped away. They can be modified. They can be changed. The information does not really belong to us. But if we have NFTs, if we have online information that is in a blockchain-based format, anybody can see that our wallet owns that information. And as a result, we, as the owners of the wallets, own that information. Now, there's some very special things that come with ownership. We can actually monetize our data rather than having our data monetized by others. And so you can, because the most valuable thing online is data, that actually is power. And that is monetization as well. If you look at why there are trillion-dollar companies, it's because they own and monetize the data of their users. But if we as the users can monetize that, we can deconstruct those trillion-dollar ecosystems so that we actually own that, that information. Additionally, you can have something called self-sovereign or self-sovereign identity, or SSI. And this enables us not only to own the data, but to control it, and as a result, monetize it. But when we are monetizing it, it's not as monolithic chunks. It's not as a big block of data. We can have what is called selective disclosure, which means that we can selectively disclose on our terms what we want people to have access to. We can charge for access in economy than we have today. So what this sets up is, again, this foundation of fairness, this foundation of extreme transparency, also the ability to, from a security standpoint, to have we have higher security as well. And if you look at Web2 ecosystems, you have what are called honeypots. Honeypots are ecosystems in Web2 where you have huge amounts of data that is controlled by one entity, and they become something that an attacker will want to attack because there's, again, data is money, data is the value online. So if you can gain access to that data, you can, as a result, gain access to something that is valuable, and so people will want to attack it. However, if we are in a position where we can own our assets, then you decentralize the data into small pieces, right, that we all own, and it becomes, unless you go through a centralized type of entity, which is amassing all of our information, each of us becomes a single target, and it's not as interesting for an attacker because they have to do a lot more work in order to get access to just one set of data. If you have millions or billions of users, then if I get just a very small fraction of it, I have an incentive. But if I'm attacking one user, I may not know if they have any value, number one. And then it's actually quite difficult in a blockchain ecosystem because if you look at cryptocurrencies, cryptography is at the core of these types of ecosystems. So it's a much better foundation for being online. As a result, it revolves around us as individuals in terms of the data, but we are in communities, and these communities are the most important component rather than a centralized entity being the most important component in the ecosystem. If you look at what happens in the world today, it is set up and operates for these large centralized players. It is on their terms rather than on the terms of communities or individuals. So if we start looking at DEI and we start looking at inclusion, we can create communities, and we have one. It's called the Astra Sapiens Project, and we are able to bring in diverse and groups of people that we want to have as part of our community. We can token gate them, meaning that we can set up a DAO, and those people can gain special access as specific members of the community, that holds particular kind of mission-driven ways of thinking about what they want to create for the space that we are creating. We can create our own world, right, online. It can be diverse, it can be inclusive, it can have a rule set that we all agree to. And a DAO is a decentralized autonomous organization, which is basically the community voting on particular proposals. It's not a centralized entity making decisions about what is correct and what's not, and someone, by fiat saying this person is going to be excluded and this person is going to come in, or some random poll that doesn't mean anything. Those are all centralized types of mechanisms. We're talking about the members of the community all being known, using their identities, and casting votes that now needs to be a certain level of anonymity, and that exists in blockchain ecosystems because each identity is actually a number. And it's, unless you tell someone about that number, no one knows it's you, but each of the individuals is accounted for. So when you have a vote, you can clearly see that all the different individuals voted, and you can obfuscate the actual information about what they voted, what was the value of the vote, using different techniques. But you can see that everyone voted in the ecosystem, and that there was a majority of the people within the ecosystem that voted for a particular proposal. So it's very democratic. Again, it's extremely transparent. It's not some random thing that can be bots coming into the ecosystem and making, biasing the results of certain polls. It is the community voting in a very specific way, using cryptography, using timestamping, using all of the tools that are available, and then all those results being available to you and me so that we can see what was decided and see that it was decided in a very fair way. So communities can make decisions. They can decide how that community operates, and they can decide how, for example, if you build a treasury for that ecosystem using the DAO can control the treasury. So how the money is used is based on the votes of the members of the community, and that can be tied to something called smart contracts, which ensure that when the vote happens, you don't have a person that then goes and does something. The vote triggers a particular action. So it could mean that money moves to a different wallet that everyone agrees is going to be used for the community purchasing something or supporting something or investing in something. And that is, again, completely transparent, visible to everyone on the blockchain through this extreme transparency. So these are the mechanisms in Web3 that build fairness, that enable inclusive communities, that can specify, the level of diversity that they want within their communities, and they control their destinies. They are not beholden to other groups, and they can choose to monetize their data. They can choose to invest in particular projects, and that entire process is extremely transparent, very fair. Everyone has the same vote, and there is no one group that has more power than any other group. So anyway, this is the foundation of Web3 that we are very excited about and can lead to this new, fairer world that has many of the characteristics that we hope can lead to more balance and all of our voices being heard, rather than the voices of just a few people who make decisions that supposedly we are okay with, but in most cases probably are not. But our voices are not heard and are not supported. So I could speak obviously about a lot more. There's many different use cases where these types of mechanisms can be used. Financial inclusion is something that is being used. There are use cases for healthcare. Dr. Sindhu Bhaskar is very much a proponent of impact. So you have a foundation for impact. And so there are literally dozens of use cases from supporting initiatives that are based on the UN SDGs, for example, to eradicate poverty, to increase access to basic resources, to financial services, healthcare, energy, fairer supply chains, ethical supply chains, ethical use cases, ethical ecosystems. All these things can be set up, can be managed by the communities themselves, using this new foundation and this new technology. So I'll turn it over to questions. Very happy to answer any of the questions that you might have. But again, very excited about this this ecosystem, this opportunity, and Web3. So happy to take any questions. Looks like there's one question from, or hello? Did I?
Sure.
I'm saying that thank you very much for your comments and very clear exposition of how DAO will work and how members have to behave themselves in DAO and what will be the transactional relationship between different entities in the DAO with smart contract and all. So now the question is that one of the attendees has sent a question: why Web 3.0 will not be utopian?
Why it will not be? Well, any system can be corrupted, right? So
yeah.
the issue is that Web3, as we've already seen, is not usually Web3. Web3 is a technology, and it is an ethos, right? As we've been talking about, it does have an underlying ethos to it. But just like, atomic energy can be used for good purposes, it can be used for bad purposes. Any particular technology can be used for many, many different use cases. You can set up, through this extreme transparency, a surveillance state, right? If everything that is being done does somehow get filtered through a centralized entity, you can actually create the opposite. You can create a very dystopian kind of a situation where some of the freedoms that we think we have online would disappear, and our actions online are actions. I mean, you can already see this in some countries, right, where people's actions online can be used against them in civil society, and it can even lead to life and death decisions for people. So any technology is only as good as the community that it's within, and then how that community behaves, and if it's based on ethics or if it's based on suppression, repression, oppression. We see many of these things. So you can create more utopian. If you look at Web 2, just because it's a centralized system, it's very hard to create any. You cannot see a utopian system based on it, because you have implicit inequality baked in, right? It's just always going to be a situation that is unfair. So Web 3 does give you the foundation so that you can have a truly fair and more utopian type of system, but it takes effort. Any kind of system that is based on ethics and people monitoring their own behavior and actually working according to particular rules and not asking one group to have higher rights or more things than another, is it takes work. So as long as the community abides by the rules, which can be in smart contracts, but people are smart, they can always figure out a way to go around any system. It can act in this more utopian way, but it's very easy for it to become worse even than the systems that we have today, if it's used in the wrong way, just due to this extreme transparency and the ability to match any action to any individual making that action. So it can be used for good things and it can be used for bad things, just like any technology.
So we are smarter than smart contracts. And garbage in and garbage out, Gigo effect will always be there in anything which is linked to computers. So whether we have multiple nodes, a single node, it all depends what sort of people are there behind those nodes and what is their intention. If they have good conduct, smart character and sound character, then of course you have a very well developed system and organization. Otherwise, of course, anything, as Jordan says, it can be corrupted and it will get corrupted.
Well, here's one thing about that. Maybe if I just say one thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
You can build incentives, right? Tokens allow you to incentivize behaviors, just like you have with Nakamoto consensus, with Bitcoin and underlying proof of work, or even proof of stake systems. You can incentivize honesty. You can incentivize good behavior. You can incentivize people in the system, and this is the thing that makes cryptocurrencies work, though obviously outside of cryptocurrencies, there can be a lot of fraud, etc., that we see. That itself can lead to a source of truth, right? And so you can incentivize the creation of a source of truth so that you do not get garbage in, garbage out. Garbage in gets rejected, and only correct information gets placed onto the blockchain, because you have a consensus mechanism that incentivizes everyone in the community to only deal with truthful information, because without that, the actual mechanism breaks down, and as a result, everybody loses wealth. So if you're a wealth-oriented ecosystem, but there's different kinds of wealth. You can have financial wealth, but you can also have wealth in terms of diversity. You can have wealth in terms of sustainability. You can have wealth of many different kinds. It doesn't have to just be monetary wealth. And as a result, you can incentivize behaviors that protect that wealth. So for example, that protect the carbon sequestration in forests, or that reduce, that increase the use of sustainable energy, or that incentivizes people to work, and provide greater access to women, or equal access to women, or equitable pay, or all these types of things that we want in society, you can incentivize. But again, you have to be very intentional about it in terms of how you are incentivizing these things, just like we have seen that the cryptocurrencies, for all the other things that are problematic, they are very good at being sources of truth with regards to the transactions that occurred in the ecosystem, because if that breaks down, everyone loses all their money, right, that they've invested into it. So these are another very important component that enables these ecosystems to move people's behavior towards what they want to see. But it is a very intentional dynamic that has to be well architected and constructed.
So as DEI is there as one of the the guiding spirit for the social objectives of Metaverse, what do you think ESG, where will ESG fit in Metaverse? Do you think
Sure.
industries, replica of industries like digital twin we talk of and all that, will ESG have any impact on digital twin for industry and virtual factories?
Most definitely. So if you look at, environment, social, and governance considerations, or impact considerations, you can incentivize behaviors in society at large or within a particular community, so that people want to be more sustainable, or they will have be incentivized towards having more diversity, for example, or giving equal voice to all the different groups, like we said, within a DAO. So I did see something flash up in terms of legal enforcement. Actually, the DAO itself is the legal enforcer, right? So you do not need a separate branch, a militarized branch or something like this. The DAO itself can see if there is a breach of activity. So, if there is a breach, then as you would find in any community, the community will vote on what happens in that particular case. Does the breaching entity get excluded? Are they penalized, right? There's different things. So it's again this concept of self-governance. So a DAO is a self-governing aspect to a community, and it is enforced through smart contracts. So if certain decisions become legally binding, then those decisions through the smart contracts, the code becomes law, as they say. And so whatever is decided by the community gets imprinted into the smart contract, and then the smart contract will execute it. So if you have the metaverse, for example, and you want to set up that certain people are rewarded through their digital twins, for example, of factories for using renewable energy, or for having a more diverse workforce, etc., those triple bottom line kinds of objectives can be incentivized with rewards, or if people are not abiding by the rules, they can be penalized, right? So this can again be within the smart contracts. So keep in mind that you can have self-governing in these decentralized organizations, but they have to be very intentional. And these ESG considerations can be the core values on how the community operates, and the incentives and the penalties in the form of the smart contracts and diminishment of wealth or diminishment of your, specific committee. You can be in committees within a DAO. Those can be taken away from you, certain perks, your position within the organization, not from a power standpoint, but just in terms of your notoriety and how you relate to other people can be impacted. So all of these different things can become part and parcel of the community, and bad behavior can be penalized and good behavior can be rewarded.
That's great. Thank you very much, Jordan, for so much of time and explaining so many things. However, just to honor all your words, I'm having something unique, which I'm starting in one of my projects, Agritech project. So we are trying to develop some concern and concept about climatology. So we are coming up with a new agenda in our EST AgRex, which is already on Google Store, and it is already launched in India, and we are having a pilot project in one of the tribal areas. So just to incentivize the planting of trees and creating awareness about climate and all, we are launching the concept of tree ball to incentivize people, and then to create afforestation and to have positive impact on climate and forestation. And then the second, I should say, the advancement of this concept further leads to positive carbon credit rewards and other things in agriculture. So I would like you to do the honors, and I would like to present it to you so that you can have give me your expert opinion, and we can further improvise and modify it. So if you can play the video. So in this, basically what we are trying to do, we are creating 10 balls, and we have different different ducts in a tray, and those are given to students so that they can choose the ball. And these 10 balls all have different tree seeds. So no one knows what seed is there in any ball. So students just choose 10 balls, put it in the duct, and they start watering it, and so that in 20-25 days, the sapling can come out, and then we can identify what tree is there. And on the basis of the tree, different numbers and marks are points are given to different kind of trees. And after summing the number of all those trees, whoever wins, they get some reward. So that is how we are trying to incentivize kids from rural areas and semi-urban areas to be vigilant about nature problems and climate, and they should participate. And we are also going to have a throw ball competition with these tree balls. We go to different areas and make people throw balls, and whoever throws it at the maximum distance, they will be awarded. So all these things just to incentivize the forestation and climatology. So there's the entire presentation of Global Tree Ball League that we have added to our Agritech program, along with smart agriculture and smart precision agriculture and smart irrigation, which we have joined hands with Agri-Brio in Spain, and they have become our partners. So we are launching that also, smart irrigation, so that we can work on the moisture content of soil, and accordingly we can reduce watering of soil just for the heck of it, that okay, after 15 days we have to water the entire area. We just target the actual planted crops, and we just do the smart irrigation system for them, that okay, after 2 days this much is required, after 4 days this much is required, and we just use that much of water so that we can
Most definitely.
conserve and preserve water. So these are the
Yes.
two initiatives which we have taken now and added to our agri-tech system. And as you said, of course, healthcare, it is moving on very well. So we have got
Wonderful.
very good tractions with that. And with this, I think our metaverse, DI, all the speakers are through. And just to sum up the whole, I should say, this event, the foundation of the metaverse basically relies on concepts such as data sovereignty, as we talked of, as sovereign identities also, privacy and governance, diversity and inclusion, DEI, universal, open and interoperable environments, decentralization and global governance, and finally, accountability and transparency. And metaverse must follow values and standards, because it is a new technology right now, not new in the sense, but the utilitarian part of metaverse is quite new. So we don't have established norms and regulations like other legalities that we have in our normal societies. So that's why it is going to take time for all the basic principles to set in and create the legal ground for it. So it must follow environmental, like it must be environmentally conscious, and it should be socially ethical also, as well as when we have economic model, then it must be sound, and it should not create in crashes as we are seeing. So environment friendly, socially ethical, and economically sound. These are the basic values and standards which any metaverse should follow. And our effort should be to create a metaverse which is inclusive, safe, and innovative. Because of course, we do talk of what is the security, what is the NFT is hacked, or what is this identity crisis, that one. Of course, these will keep on coming because we are the creators. So we can always be the destroyers also. So there is no foolproof agenda for all these things. We have to be resolute in our resolution, and we have to be resolute in our own, I should say, characteristics of honesty and transparency, and stick to it. I think that will only add value to metaverse and value to technology, because technology is human centric and it has to deliver goods to all human beings. But if we are not fastidious about the righteousness of ourselves, we cannot pass on that righteousness and virtue to the technology itself, and it will fail to become human centric. So that is what is very, very important. It is only we human beings, and it is solely up to us to use the possibilities of the metaverse for good. Thank you very much, everyone. And I will just like to have the vote of thanks from all our sponsors, different colleges, universities who have participated and graciously honored us by giving mementos to all our speakers, which we'll be shipping to all our speakers. So we'll be taking your valued postal data, but it is not going to be threatened, I can tell you. So your data will be secure. So let us have the vote of thanks from different principals and deans. Actually, that program was changed. They said that since everything is like you all are conducting, so why should we send our videos? So let me thank each of the speaker, each of the attendee, and all attendees will be getting their participation certification. So as soon as we close, you will have it in your email. All speakers will have mementos from us. And I think there is one last question, Jordan. The people don't want to leave you. So carbon footprint of NFT will cause too much problems in future. Attendee says he believes it is also mandatory to manage the environment. So he compliments all our views and all our efforts. So thank you again for your suggestion and your advice and your views about DAOs and how all the aspects of DEI should be taken care of. With that, I would like to close the session now, and we are going to have another session in the month of January, wherein we'll be covering more topics of Metaverse and blockchain 3. Web 3 with blockchain, of course, and we'll again like to have your participation. Thanking you very much for giving your time. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.